Chapter 60. The conversation with Viscount Leslie went very smoothly. Compared to many arrogant and stubborn nobles, Viscount Leslie had a very clear advantage. It was that even if he couldn't understand something right now, he wouldn't deny it. He would patiently listen and try his best to accept and try it out. For example, when Sue talked about liberating productivity, Viscount Leslie was completely confused and didn't understand at all. But he didn't refute Sue because of this and patiently listened to Sue. When Sue took out the 100 slaves he had borrowed from him as an example, he finally had an idea. When those 100 slaves were under Viscount Leslie's name, they could only do some simple and heavy work, so their value was very limited. In order to feed them, Viscount Leslie had to pay a small amount of gold coins each year. But after they were lent to Sue in just 2 months, if they were given a normal wage, they would have brought Viscount Leslie a large profit of over 1,000 gold coins. Not to mention that they played a very important role in the factory, creating a large profit for the New Flyer. Viscount Leslie was also a large shareholder of the New Flyer, so of course he would take a part of the profits of the company. So even if Viscount Leslie wasn't willing, he had to admit that Sue wasn't wrong at all. If these slaves were in his hands, the value they created was far from being as valuable as if they were in Sue's hands. Thinking of this, Viscount Leslie was very interested in Sue's farmer support plan. Even if he didn't know Sue's specific plan, he immediately made a decision and decided to support Sue's plan. Compared to this, although Sue's net worth wasn't low because of the New Flyer in Banta City, he could only be considered a small merchant. There were many things that weren't easy for him to do. Viscount Leslie was completely different. As a famous noble of Banta City, and with the influence of the family behind him, his words in Banta City were far from what Sue could compare to. With his strong support, Sue's plan was naturally much easier to implement. 3 days later, the first small magic plowing machine appeared. It was demonstrated on Viscount Leslie's farmland as usual. This time was different from watching Viscount Leslie harvest the wheat. The Banta City nobles who received the invitation didn't have any doubts at all and happily came because they already knew that the small magic plowing machine would be demonstrated this time. Although they only knew the name of the small magic plowing machine, that didn't stop them from being enthusiastic. In the autumn wheat harvest before, these nobles had enjoyed the benefits of the small magic harvester. The wheat that would have taken them 10 days to half a month to harvest, with the use of the small magic harvester, it only took them 2 days to harvest. The increase in efficiency was terrifying. This time when Viscount Leslie told the New Flyer that they had developed a new magic machine that could quickly pluck the soil after harvesting, these nobles didn't have any doubts at all. They didn't even know what this magic machine looked like as they all placed orders with the New Flyer. Now that the small magic plowing machine had finally appeared, the nobles naturally wanted to see it as soon as possible. When they arrived at the designated farmland, they were shocked to find that other than the nobles, there were also some people who were obviously commoners. Some of them were even dressed very simply, and their faces were dark as if they were farmers. Seeing this scene, some of the nobles were dissatisfied. This was clearly a gathering of nobles, so it was fine for the New Flyer's chairman Sue to participate. What were these commoners and even those bumpkins doing here? But this time it was Viscount Leslie who invited them. Considering that Viscount Leslie might have a deeper meaning, even if these nobles were dissatisfied in their hearts, they wouldn't show it in front of everyone. Rather, the commoners were very nervous, especially the normal farmers. They had never seen this many nobles in their lives, so when they were suddenly standing with all these old nobles, they felt very awkward. It was a good thing that there was a strange-looking machine by the farmland that attracted everyone's attention, turning everyone's attention to this machine. This machine should be the small magic plowing machine, but it looked even stranger than the small magic harvester. There was a row of cylinders in front of the machine, and there was a weak yellow glow coming from the bottom of each cylinder. The surrounding nobles had some understanding of magic, so they could see that there was an earth-attributed magic array on these cylinders. Thinking about how this machine was called the small magic plowing machine, it was understandable that there was an earth-attributed magic array on it. But the second half of the machine was something that people couldn't understand. The second half was tightly wrapped in an iron box, and other than seeing something through the gaps, they couldn't see anything else. It made people want to open the iron box to see what was inside. The doubts in everyone's hearts didn't last long. After a while, Viscount Leslie saw that everyone was here and announced the start. A burly man stepped forward and grabbed the handle at the back of the machine. After pressing the switch, the row of cylinders at the front of the machine flashed with a bright yellow light. Then, it suddenly fell, heavily smashing into the farmland that had become extremely hard after the wheat was harvested. As soon as the bottom of the column touched the soil, everyone heard a low muffled sound coming from the soil. Then, they saw countless cracks appear on the originally hard soil, and then it violently rolled and shook. Earth-splitting spell. The eyes of a young noble on the side of the farmland lit up as he spoke out in surprise. "Baron Hannes, you can recognize the magic array on it?" A noble on the side asked in a surprised voice. "Yes. If I'm not mistaken, each of those pillars should have an earth fissure magic array added to them." The young noble known as Baron Hannes nodded in response. Baron Hannes nodded. Although the earth-splitting spell array is only a second-grade earth-attributed magic array, to be able to think of using it like this and being able to control the range of the array, even letting the arrays on the cylinders not affect each other, perfectly displaying their effects, it can be seen that the person who designed this magic machine and this array must have a profound understanding of magic arrays. Baron Hannes, this is your first time in Arbanta City, so you don't know. The one who designed this magic machine was New Flyer's chairman Sue E. He is indeed a magician, and it's said that even great magician Camilla praised his talent for magic, so it isn't strange for him to be able to design this kind of magic array. You said he's a magician? Baron Hannes was stunned. Baron Hannes was stunned. Since he is a magician, why would he open a company? Why isn't he studying magic? With his strong talent for magic, if he focused on studying magic, he would definitely become a very powerful magician. The noble on the side gave a shrug. I don't know about this. But everyone has their own ambitions. Perhaps Chairman Sue likes to study these things? Baron Hannes shook his head with knitted brows and didn't say anything else. In the field, the small magic plowing machine kept moving forward. The pillar in front of him fell, and the earth-splitting magic circle on the pillar easily scattered the solid soil into pieces. The iron box at the back finally revealed its hidden fangs, which turned out to be a ferocious iron rake. Along with the high-speed rotation of the iron plow, the dense iron nails on the plow continuously rolled in the fragmented soil, and in an instant, all the fragmented soil was completely shattered. When the small magic plowing machine left the soil, the firm soil had turned into a pile of incomparably loose soil. Seeing this scene, whether it was the nobles or the peasants, they all couldn't help gasping in surprise. If they relied purely on manpower, to do the same work of plowing the soil, not only would it take a large amount of time and effort, it would be impossible for the soil to become this loose, so the effect would be much worse. Moreover, the better the effect of plowing the soil, the easier it would be for the following planting work. The crops would also be able to absorb more nutrients from the soil, which would be helpful for their future growth. So with the help of this small magic plowing machine, not only could they save a large amount of time and effort, they could also achieve better planting results. The group of people stared right at the small magic plowing machine, which took less than 10 minutes to pluck an entire mow of farmland. Looking at the incomparably fluffy soil in the farmland, it took a while for them to come back to their senses. Several nobles who reacted quickly charged in front of Sue E. standing beside Viscount Leslie and impatiently shouted, "Chairman Sue, where is the small magic plowing machine that I ordered? Has it been made already? Send it over to me now." Send what? Chairman Su, I'll send people to your company to get it now. There are still many fields in my family waiting to be plowed. Hey, don't think that you're the only one who placed the order. I placed the order as soon as possible. Chairman Su, you have to remember first come first serve. Seeing the actions of these people, the other nobles instantly reacted. They charged in front of Su Yi and also began shouting. Seeing these nobles making such a racket without any grace, the commoners and farmers were shocked for a long time before they finally reacted. After looking at each other, the commoners all revealed gloomy expressions. Although this small magic plowing machine's effects were shocking, it was clear that it was very expensive. Not to mention them not being able to afford it. Even if they could afford it, the nobles were working hard to buy it, so how could it fall into the hands of commoners like them? Thinking of this, these peasants gave a sigh and shook their heads before preparing to leave. They couldn't understand why Viscount Leslie would invite them here. This kind of place, it wasn't a place that peasants like them should come to. However, when these peasants were about to leave, a man who looked very decent, whether it was his appearance or his clothes, came out from the side. He said to everyone with a faint smile, "Everyone, please wait. I am New Flyer's financial manager Seabass. May I ask everyone, are you also interested in the small magic plowing machine?" The peasants were stunned. They looked at Seabass, who had a very sincere expression, and after hesitating a bit, they all nodded. It had to be said, the shock that this small magic plowing machine gave them was too strong. It would be nonsense to say that they didn't want it. Seeing everyone nod, Seabass revealed a smile and continued, "Since it's like this, I think that everyone will be interested in the farmer support plan that our company has recently launched." Chapter 61. You were introduced by Reeves? Su Yi looked at the young noble who had been introduced by Viscount Leslie in a daze. He never thought that a name that he hadn't heard in a long time would come from his mouth. Baron Hannes gave a slight bow before replying with a faint smile, "Yes, when he heard that I was coming to Banta City, Uncle Reeves told me that I had to find a chance to contact the new flyer. Uncle Reeves also said that he was very regretful that he didn't get the chance to cooperate with you on the magic fan last time. If your company has any other new products, he will definitely cooperate with you again if there is a chance." Reeves' normal, but shrewd face flashed in Su Yi's mind. Towards this large customer who wanted to order 1,000 magic fans, Su Yi had a deep impression of him. When the new flyer had just been established and the magic fan had just been developed, it was far from being as famous as it was now in Banta City. It even had a bit of fame in the surrounding cities. However, in this situation, Reeves actually dared to order such a large amount. It could be seen that his vision was far and his courage was large. What made Su Yi even more surprised was that he still remembered their small company after a few months, and even had someone come to contact them. Su Yi looked over Baron Hannes. He thought that although this fellow was young, he was still a baron. Moreover, he could find him through Viscount Leslie, which meant that he had some status in Anvilmar City. This kind of person still called Reeves' uncle, so it could be seen that Reeves was indeed an important person. "Reeves, why is Mr. certain that we have a new product?" Su Yi asked in a curious voice. Baron Hannes revealed a smile. "I also asked Uncle Reeves the same thing, and he said that although he had met you, Chairman Su, he could see that Chairman Su was an ambitious person. You definitely wouldn't be satisfied with just a single product like the magic fan." Su Yi awkwardly rubbed his nose as his expression became a bit awkward. "Am I so easily seen through?" Viscount Leslie on the side laughed. "Su Yi, if I didn't see your ambition and ability, do you think I would be willing to cooperate with you?" Su Yi shrugged helplessly. "Is the word ambition written all over my face?" Baron Hannes laughed as well. "Chairman Su, you are so humorous. It's not a bad thing to have ambition, is it? Since you've established such a unique chamber of commerce, then if you weren't wild, well, I prefer what Uncle Reeves calls ambitious." If you weren't ambitious, how could you have allowed this Chamber of Commerce to continue developing? Alright, I admit it. I'm wild, very ambitious. Well, I like the way you put it. Our new flyer is just starting out, but in the future, I will definitely make it the top Chamber of Commerce in the entire Lampari Kingdom, and even the entire Signs. Sue-E nodded vigorously. I believe you. Baron Hannes smiled and nodded. Baron Hannes nodded with a smile. But Chairman Sue, I'm still very curious. I've heard that you were a very outstanding magician, and from the small magic plowing machine just now, I can see that your level of earth magic arrays is quite high. Since it's like this, why didn't you choose to continue studying magic and become a powerful magician? Why did you choose to study magic machines? I think that you should be very clear that even if New Flyer becomes the largest company in the Signs, as a merchant, you won't be as respected as a powerful magician, right? You're not the first person to ask me this question. Sue-E looked at Viscount Leslie. Just a month ago, Viscount Leslie had also asked him this question. This question isn't easy to answer. I can only tell you that this is my personal interest. Baron Hannes knit his brows, clearly not satisfied with this answer. Chairman Sue, just based on your personal interest, I'm afraid it can't make you give up on being a magician with great prospects and become a merchant, right? Sue-E gave a shrug. He thought that he couldn't tell him that his dream was to create a complete industrial system in the Signs, right? Even when Viscount Leslie asked, Sue-E had only told him that compared to studying magic, he liked studying magic machines more. This kind of answer about his personal interests and ambitions was not something that people could understand or be satisfied with, but it was something that people couldn't refute. Up to now, Sue-E had only revealed a trace of his true thoughts in front of great magician Camilla and Steele. As for this Baron Hannes, their relationship was too far apart. Baron Hannes, I think that if you throw this question to Mr. Lewis, he might be able to understand it more easily than you. That's right, you said that Mr. Lewis wanted to cooperate with our new flyer. I wonder if he has mentioned any specific cooperation plans? Sue-E quickly changed the topic. He hasn't. Baron Hannes was still young, so it was very easy for Sue-E to divert his attention. He shook his head and said, Uncle Lewis just had me take a look first and try to meet with you to raise this idea. As for how to cooperate, I'm not familiar with this matter, so how about Chairman Sue tell me what cooperation there is? Sue-E knit his brows. Me? Actually, I don't know anything about Mr. Lewis, I don't even know what he does, so how could I know how to cooperate? Baron Hannes' eyes opened wide in surprise. You actually don't know Uncle Lewis' identity? Could it be that he didn't tell you last time? Sue-E shook his head. He just gave me a letter and it only had his name and address. I don't know anything else. Baron Hannes was surprised. Uncle Lewis gave you an address? What address is it? Let me think, it seems to be Anvilmar City's Sloane Street's 23rd. Or was it 24th? I'm sorry, I don't have the letter on me, so I can't remember it clearly. As soon as his voice fell, Sue-E found that Viscount Leslie and Baron Hannes had strange expressions on their faces. Viscount Leslie only had a trace of surprise in his eyes, but Baron Hannes looked at Sue-E like he was looking at a monster. Uncle Lewis actually gave you a personal letter. God above! I never thought that Uncle Lewis would place such importance on you. No wonder he specially had me come to see you. Although Sue-E was a bit confused, based on their reactions, he could guess that the letter Lewis gave him back then wasn't something that could be easily obtained. This made him very curious. Lewis had clearly only met him once, so why did he place such importance on him? Could it be that this fellow had foresight and knew that he would develop more magic machines, changing the continent? Chairman Sue, I think I need to get to know you again. After Baron Hannes recovered from his surprise, he revealed a serious expression. Baron Hannes revealed a serious look. Uncle Lewis has always been known for his ability to see through people. Since he places such importance on you, There must be something about you that is worthy of his attention. How about this? I'll be in Banta City for around half a month. During this half a month, Chairman Su, can I understand more about you and your new flyer? Sui couldn't help being surprised. How do you want to understand? For example, I might stay by your side all day and observe your actions. I might also go to the factories under your company and observe your operations. I might even ask around Banta City and see what people think of your company. Sui felt a chill run down his spine. This Baron Hannes methods, why were they like the paparazzi from Earth? I'm afraid this. Sui wanted to reject him, but he saw Viscount Leslie give him a nod and immediately swallowed his words. What are you afraid of? Hannes asked with an expectant look. Sui saw Viscount Leslie's expression when he ran over, and after considering it, he said with a smile, I'm afraid it'll take up a lot of your time, right? No, I'm very interested in you and the new flyer right now. This way I can understand you more. When I return to Anvil City and Uncle Louis asks me, I'll be able to give him a more detailed explanation. It's like this. Sui pretended to hesitate for a bit before giving a slight nod. All right, since Baron Hannes has this idea, I represent myself and the new flyer to warmly welcome you. Chapter 62. I don't welcome him. Heinz's face was pale, completely revealing the unhappiness in his heart. Sui, when you agreed to this fellow coming, why didn't you tell me? Don't you know that in order to make the magic rice cooker, we are working hard every day? I'm so busy every day, but you're stuffing in this kind of delicate young master from a noble family. Do you still want us to work properly? Sui looked at Baron Hannes, who had a curious look on his face as he ran around the workshop like a cat, and he couldn't help saying, It can't be, right? Didn't I say that you don't need to care about him? Just treat him as if he doesn't exist. You don't need to treat him as a noble young master. Anyway, he said that we don't need to be polite to him. It's easy for you to say, Heinz angrily said. No matter what, he is still a noble young master from Anvil City, and based on what you said, he must be from a large noble family. There are so many production magic machines and parts in this workshop. If something happens to him or he's even injured, how can our factory continue operating? Even if nothing happens to him, just by standing here, he will affect our normal work. Look, he's even harassing our workers. My God! He actually wants to control the magic thread rolling machine. Sui and Heinz quickly ran over and pulled back Baron Hannes, who was eager to try. This. Baron Hannes, you can look around the workshop, but I think you should forget about operating it yourself, right? Sui had received enough hints from Viscount Leslie, so he knew that Baron Hannes' background wasn't small, so he tried to be as kind as possible to him. There is a bit of danger in operating this production magic machine. If you haven't been trained and want to operate it, it's very likely that you'll be injured. Look, this head can flatten an iron nail, so I think that it shouldn't be hard to break your fingers or even your arm, right? Baron Hannes was a bit surprised. It can't be, right? I think that these workers are quite easy to operate. That's because they're already skilled workers. You have to know, when these production magic machines were first brought in, the workers in charge of operating them were all injured. One of them even had his arm broken. After saying this, Sui desperately signaled to the workers beside the magic thread rolling machine with his eyes. The workers understood and hurriedly chimed in. Right, that kid Tucci's arm still can't use it. That's right, this thing is very dangerous. I almost got caught in it last time, and if I didn't react fast enough, I might have lost my arm. Right, this magic machine isn't something that can be casually played with. People who aren't familiar with it might be injured. Hearing the frightening words of the workers, Baron Hannes hesitated for a moment. He could only sigh and give up helplessly. All right then, I won't operate it myself. I'll just watch you guys operate it. Sue and Heinz let out a sigh of relief, but they saw Baron Hannes take out a small book and a pen, recording something in front of the two of them. There is a bit of danger in operating the production magic machines. There are even workers who have been injured. Sue looked at the record in the book and his face twitched. He never thought that the things he casually made up to fool him would be recorded by him. It was a good thing that there wasn't a workers' union in the signs right now, otherwise just based on this record, his workshop would have to close down. Thinking of this, Sue suddenly thought of something. Although he paid attention to the workers' welfare, the safety measures and compensation weren't perfect enough. The workers in the workshop hadn't had any accidents yet, so this hidden danger hadn't been exposed. But once something happened, if there weren't proper measures, there would be a problem. The only workers in the workshop before were Viscount Leslie's slaves, but now that they had recruited 100 normal workers, they had to pay attention to this problem. Thinking of this, Sue explained everything to Heinz in front of Baron Hannes. Seeing Baron Hannes record everything in the little book, Sue couldn't help revealing a faint smile. This Baron Hannes was recording these things. It was clear that he would bring them back for Louis to see. If these things could catch Louis' interest or even importance, it would be helpful to Sue's future plans. After visiting the household magic machine workshop, Sue followed Baron Hannes to the production magic machine workshop. Seeing that the workshop was filled with dwarves, Baron Hannes was very surprised. Since the race wars thousands of years ago, there were fewer and fewer races in human society. Even in the Lampari Kingdom's capital, Anvilmar City, there were only a few dwarves, not to mention 100 dwarves at once. Baron Hannes couldn't hold back the excitement in his heart as he grabbed the Liederkambi to ask all kinds of questions. Only these questions weren't related to the production magic machines, rather they were related to the daily lives of the dwarves. Seeing Baron Hannes excitedly asking questions, Sue couldn't help shaking his head as he was certain in his heart. If this Baron Hannes was placed on Earth, the most suitable job for him would be paparazzi. Thinking of paparazzi, Sue suddenly had an idea. He remembered that a month ago, he had asked Heinz if there were any newspapers in Banta City. The answer he received was that there were only bulletins from the city lord's manor and there weren't any proper newspapers. Now that he saw Baron Hannes acting like a paparazzi, Sue couldn't help thinking of the tabloids on Earth. Then he suddenly thought that since there weren't any newspapers in this world, why didn't he just create one himself? On Earth, before the internet appeared, newspapers were the key tools that controlled the mouths of the people. If one could control newspapers, it was equal to controlling public opinion and could even guide the hearts of the people to a certain extent. If Sue could make a newspaper now, it would definitely create a stir in the world. Of course, in the signs where class was still very important, trying to control the hearts of the people was seeking death. But this didn't stop him from obtaining other benefits through newspapers, for example, advertising. Thinking of this, Sue's helpless eyes looking at Baron Hannes instantly changed. ####. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 days had passed, and it was officially the 10th month of autumn. Most of the green leaves on the trees had been dyed golden yellow, and the people on the streets had gradually begun to put on long gowns. The cool breeze brought by the flowing air had also begun to carry a trace of coolness. As for the summer heat, it had long disappeared. This day was a normal day for Banta City, but early in the morning the people of the city felt that something was off. Newspapers are being sold. Newspapers are being sold. The new Banta Times. Inside and outside the city, all the big and small news are in the Banta Times. A little boy who was around 11 or 12 years old was walking down the street while shouting this slogan. Hearing his slogan, the people on the street all stopped and looked at the little boy with curious gazes. "Hey kid, what is the Banta Times? What big and small news? What does it do?" A large man who was closest to the little boy asked in a low voice. The little boy wasn't nervous at all. He took out several sheets of newspaper from the cloth bag in front of his chest with a smile and handed it over. Look, this is the Banta Times. There are many things that happen in and outside Banta City recorded in it. Are you interested in buying a copy to take a look? It's very cheap, it only costs 1 silver coin per copy. Let me take a look first before I decide if I want to buy it or not. The large man was prepared to grab it, but the little boy nimbly dodged it. This customer, the most important thing about this newspaper is the things recorded in it. If you finish reading it, I won't be able to sell it to you. How about it? As long as it costs 1 silver coin, you can read it as you wish. The burly man glared at the little boy, but under the watchful eyes of the people around him, he could only obediently take out a silver coin and toss it to the little boy. Then, he put on an arrogant expression and flipped open the newspaper to read. Compared to the villages outside Banta City, the people of Banta City had a higher degree of education. This large man looked very vulgar, but he was still literate. When he opened the newspaper, he loudly read it. Front page headline: Farmer Support Plan Good. In the past few days, the Frestec Chamber of Commerce, who had developed the small magic harvester and the small magic plowing machine, had announced that they would be starting a plan to support the normal farmers in Banta City. They wanted to help the normal farmers finish farming faster, and after a month of experimentation, this plan had already achieved initial success. The 3 villages outside Banta City, including Ireland Village, were the first test sites for this plan, so the farmers there have already enjoyed the benefits of this plan. Regarding this plan, Banta City's City Lord Sean Samo, Lord Count Sean Samo, has called it a good plan for the citizens and praised New Flyer for being a company with a conscience. Hearing the large man read this, the surrounding people began to discuss this. I've also heard of this farmer support plan. I have a relative who lives in Ireland Village. I've heard that there was a fellow in their village who rented a small magic plowing machine from the Frestec Chamber of Commerce and used 3 days to plow all the soil in Ireland Village. Moreover, he earned over 4 gold coins in 3 days with this thing. How did he earn that much? It's very simple. He used the small magic plowing machine to help people plow, and he earned 2 silver coins per moo. Ireland Village has over 200 moo of farmland and it was all taken by him, so how much do you think he earned? The people of Ireland Village all had him plow the soil. Why didn't they do it themselves? Are you stupid? If they plow the soil themselves, how long would it take to plow a moo of land? They would be half dead from exhaustion. If they had him help, it wouldn't even take 10 minutes to plow a moo of land, and it would only cost 2 silver coins. So why wouldn't they do it? Can't they use the time and energy they save to do something else? That's right. I've heard that the Lord City Lord has decided to fix the roads and New Flyer is hiring workers, so they are hiring workers all over the place. If they have the time to do this, they can earn more than 2 silver coins. That's right. Hearing the discussions of the surrounding people, the large man became even more proud and read even more energetically. However, there were many people who didn't want to wait for him to keep reading. They came in front of the little boy and gave him a silver coin before picking up a copy to read. After a while, the newspaper in front of the little boy's chest was snatched clean and there were many people who didn't get a copy at all. Seeing everyone's disappointed expressions, the little boy put down his hand that was counting the silver coins and shouted with a smile, "There will be Banta Times, delivered every day, so if everyone wants to buy it, please come early." Chapter 63. A horse carriage drove out of Viscount Leslie's manor and quickly headed onto the smooth road to Banta City. Inside the horse carriage, Viscount Leslie was currently reading the Banta Times in his hand. After looking at it for a while, Viscount Leslie gave a nod of praise. This thing really isn't bad. I'm certain that this thing will definitely become popular. Sue, it'll be much easier for you to advertise in the future. Sue, sitting in front of Viscount Leslie, stopped reading and looked up with a smile. "Lord Viscount, Although you're right and I made this thing to make it easier for me to advertise in the future, you can't say this in front of Baron Hannes. He will definitely be angry." Viscount Leslie laughed. "That's right, that fellow is invested in this thing. I think that if you ran to him and told him that you wanted to advertise in it, he wouldn't even give face to you as the founder, right?" Sui gave a shrug. "That doesn't matter. Anyway, I made this newspaper to give him something to do, so he won't be around me and the factory all day, causing Heinz to complain to me all day." Viscount Leslie laughed even louder. "Sui, if Heinz heard your honest words, he would definitely be angered to death by you. Is he that annoying?" "No, no, no, Lord Viscount, you can't speak nonsense like this. How could Baron Hannes be annoying? Only, he cares too much about me and the new flyer, so it will affect our work a bit. Now that I've specially developed the magic printing press for him and provided enough funds and space to create this Banta Times for him, Baron Hannes is very grateful to me. If he misunderstands me after hearing this, it would be a large loss for me." Viscount Leslie shook his head. "Hannes is still too young, being tricked by you this easily. According to his schedule, he should be heading back to Unveil City, but now that you've made this Banta Times, he's so happy that he forgot about going back. When I met him the day before yesterday, he even told me that he wanted to stay here and make the Banta Times better and better. I really don't know what he is thinking." Sui revealed a faint smile, thinking that this was actually very simple. The Banta Times was a very novel thing in the signs. Not only did it satisfy Baron Hannes' gossipy nature, it also satisfied his hot-blooded nature as a young man in his early 20s. He felt that he could control many things with this newspaper, so naturally he was very passionate about it. Of course, the reason why Sui pushed him to the position of chief editor of the Banta Times wasn't just to give him something to do and not let him bother him. As for the Banta Times, Sui had considered it very clearly. Although this was a new thing for the signs, he believed that there would be many people who would see the large power that this new thing would bring. With Sui's current status, it wasn't suitable for him to control this thing. So when he created the Banta Times, although he provided the idea, funds, and space, he gave the ownership of the newspaper to Viscount Leslie. After talking to Baron Hannes, he convinced him to become the chief editor. On the surface, the Banta Times didn't seem to be related to Sui and the New Flyer, but this newspaper would definitely be influenced by Sui, so it would definitely be biased towards the New Flyer. Actually, you can tell Baron Hannes that even if he returns to Unveil City, he can still be the chief editor. At worst, he can just create his own Unveil Times. Sui said with a smile. Viscount Leslie looked at Sui with a gaze of deep meaning before shaking his head. "Do you think that Unveil City is the same as here? It isn't easy to do something in Unveil City, especially something as sensitive as a newspaper. Do you believe that if this was Unveil City, even if this newspaper really appeared, it would become something completely different from what you imagined?" "Naturally, I believe this." Sui had an understanding look as he nodded. Viscount Leslie looked out the window to the north, and was in a daze for a while. Suddenly he gave a sigh and turned back, recovering his calm expression as he asked Sui, "Forget it, let's not talk about this. Have you thought about what you'll say to Sir Count when you see him?" Sui tapped the information in his hand before pointing at his head. "It's all prepared." "That's good." Viscount Leslie nodded. Viscount Leslie nodded. "This is your first time meeting Sir Count, you have to leave a good impression on him. If you can obtain his support, whether it is for you or for the company, it will be a great help." "Of course I understand this." The horse carriage drove into Banta City and didn't stop heading north, finally stopping in front of the city lord's manor in the north. Sui and Viscount Leslie jumped out of the horse carriage, and a middle-aged man wearing the uniform of a butler came forward to welcome them. "Viscount Leslie, the Lord City Lord has been waiting for a long time." The middle-aged man who should be the butler of the city lord's manor came forward with a smile before looking at Sue. "This must be Chairman Sue, right? Please come with me." This butler's attitude towards Viscount Leslie and Sue was very different. He was very warm when greeting Viscount Leslie and even had a trace of respect, but he was much colder when facing Sue, like he was greeting a passerby. Sue naturally wouldn't feel disappointed because of this. With his current status, being able to meet the Lord City Lord was because of Viscount Leslie's face. Viscount Leslie placed more importance on Sue, so he specially introduced him to Sue. "Sue, this is Sir Count's butler 8. You will see him many times in the future, so you have to remember him." Sue nodded to Butler 8 with a faint smile. Butler 8 looked at Viscount Leslie with a bit of surprise, but when he looked at Sue again, he revealed a faint smile, seeming much friendlier than before. After a simple greeting, Sue consciously fell behind Viscount Leslie by half a step as he followed Butler 8 into the City Lord's manor. This City Lord's manor wasn't as big as Sue expected. After walking for a bit, they arrived in front of a large hall that looked like a reception hall. However, Butler 8 didn't lead the two of them in. Rather, he turned around and led the way. "Sir City Lord has already prepared dinner in the dining hall. Please come with me." Hearing Butler 8's explanation, Sue couldn't help taking another look at Viscount Leslie. Although he already knew that Viscount Leslie had a good relationship with the City Lord Count Sean Samo, based on Butler 8's attitude towards him and the Sir City Lord inviting them to the dining hall, their relationship was much closer than Sue had expected. It seemed like the family behind Viscount Leslie really wasn't weak. Otherwise, with a small Viscount like him, it was impossible for him to have such a good relationship with a respected City Lord and a noble Count. Very quickly, the two of them were led to the dining hall by Butler 8, and they saw Sean Samo Count sitting in the dining hall. Seeing the two of them, Sean Count immediately broke out in laughter and waved his hand to have them sit down. When they sat down, Sue suddenly felt a strange cool breeze coming from behind him. He turned around in surprise and saw a magic air conditioner hanging on the wall of the dining hall. It was currently releasing a faint blue glow and blowing a cool breeze in their direction. Noticing Sue's actions, Sean Count broke out in laughter again. "Chairman Sue, do you still remember that our first meeting was at the banquet Leslie held that night? If my guesses aren't wrong, this kid was in cahoots with you when he held the banquet. He wanted to help you advertise the magic air conditioner, right? Otherwise, with this kid's temper, how could he find a bunch of people to bother him for no reason?" Sue and Viscount Leslie looked at each other in surprise before saying with a smile, "Sir City Lord really is wise. That's right, I did ask the Lord Viscount for help at that banquet, and the goal was indeed to advertise the magic air conditioner. Of course, isn't the effect very good?" "Of course it's good. Didn't you see that even I couldn't resist the temptation and bought several at once?" Sean Count pointed at Viscount Leslie. "I thought back then that even this arrogant kid was willing to help you, Sue. You must be a very capable fellow. I never thought that my expectations were too low. In just 2 months your new flyer has already made all these new things. It really has opened my eyes. Sir City Lord's praise is too much. These are just some small things that I made when I was bored. It really isn't much," Sue quickly said in a modest voice. "Small things?" Sean Count looked at Sue and revealed a faint smile, but he didn't say anything else. He turned to give a nod to Butler 8 on the side. Butler 8 clapped his hands and a group of maids came out with various plates. The last maid was different from the maids in front of her. On the plate she was holding, there was actually a magic rice cooker. Seeing Sue and Viscount Leslie's stunned expressions, Sean Count gave another long laugh. "What? You don't like eating rice?" Viscount Leslie gave a shrug as he moved in a natural manner. "Sir Count, you know that I've never been picky about what I eat." Sue couldn't help knitting his brows. This Sir City Lord had been showing him his understanding of the new flyer since the beginning, So was this a sign of goodwill? Or a warning? Chapter 64. Even if there were only 3 people, this banquet in the city lord's manor still lasted an hour before it was over. After they finished eating, Sue-E and Viscount Leslie were invited by the Samoyed Count to a room that wasn't considered big. After chatting for a bit, the Samoyed Count quickly changed the topic to Sue-E. Chairman Sue, since you had that kid Leslie come out to ask me to see you, now that you've seen me, you can't be as silent as you were at the table, right? Viscount Leslie looked at Sue-E when he heard this, and Sue-E nodded. After organizing his thoughts, he said with a faint smile, Lord City Lord, this is my first time meeting you, so I'm a bit nervous, so I can't help being a bit silent. The Samoyed Count waved his hand. That kid Leslie didn't say this when he introduced you to me. He said that you were a fellow with ideas, and based on the development of your new flyer, I believe in his judgment. You're saying that you're nervous seeing me? I don't think so, right? Sue-E smiled and decided to change this topic. After thinking about it, he continued, All right, then whether I'm nervous or not, I can only not be nervous now. Lord City Lord, I asked the Lord Viscount to see me this time because I need your help with something. It's good that you have something. If you didn't have anything, would you come see an old man like me for nothing? I'm not a beauty, the Samoyed Count said with a nod. Speak, just what is it? If it's like that kid Leslie, finding me to help you advertise your company's products, that won't do. There are many companies in Banta City, I can't favor one over the others. Sue-E couldn't help smiling. He never thought that this Samoyed Count would be this interesting. That was good. If he had been a stubborn old noble, it would have been difficult to get him to agree to what he wanted to discuss today. Of course not. You are the city lord of Banta City, it would be too much of a waste to just invite you to advertise. Oh? Does that mean I'm more useful? Samoyed Count looked at Sue-E with interest. Heh. Sir City Lord, I believe you should have some understanding of the farmer support plan that our Chamber of Commerce launched some time ago, right? Sue-E asked. Samoyed Count nodded. Not only do I have some understanding of it, I've studied it thoroughly. I have to say, the plan proposed by your Chamber of Commerce is very outstanding. If we can smoothly implement this, I think that it will be of great help to the lives of our Banta City's farmers. Improving the lives of ordinary farmers is actually just a preliminary goal, Sue-E continued. The more important reason why our company wants to carry out this plan is to popularize the agricultural magic machines of our company, greatly increasing the farming ability of normal farmers. We'll help them open up more farmland and increase their grain yield, improving their lives while also freeing them from the farmland, giving them more time to do other work. For example, working in your company's factory. Samoyed Count raised a brow as he asked this. Sue-E laughed, Sir City Lord, the jobs in our company's factory are very popular right now. I think that, if the farmers had a choice, they would definitely agree. Samoyed Count gave a slight nod. I do know a bit about this. I've heard that the workers in your company's factory can earn at least 6 gold coins a month. This is considered quite a bit in our Banta City. Actually, if I have to be honest, this wage is a bit low. I would rather give the workers a bit of a wage, so that they can work for our company for a long time. You might not know this, but during this time, Saltan City's Leo Chamber of Commerce has used high wages to poach many of our company's workers. It has forced us to recruit new workers and train them, which has delayed our production quite a bit. Saltan City's Chamber of Commerce. Count Sean frowned. Samoyed knit his brows. There are companies from other cities that came to our Banta City to poach people? So you let them poach them away? Sue-E spread his hands and revealed a helpless look. There's no other way. The Leo Chamber of Commerce gave them a high wage of 10 gold coins a month. There were quite a few workers who couldn't take this and were poached away. Samoyed Count gave a soft snort. 10 gold coins? They really are willing to spend money. But why did this Leo Chamber of Commerce poach your workers? Because the Leo Chamber of Commerce produces the same magic machines as our company. Sui explained. So it's like this. Then do you have any corresponding measures? Why don't you raise the wages of the workers? Samoyed Count asked. This, Sir City Lord, although I would like to directly raise the wages of the workers, as a Chamber of Commerce with long-term plans, rashly raising the wages of the workers is not a correct decision because this will disrupt our entire plan and very likely affect the development of the Chamber of Commerce in the future. Thus, we can only compensate in other ways, such as giving more benefits to the workers as compensation. Of course, only a small portion of the workers have been poached and most of the workers are willing to stay with our company. I don't care what plans your company has, but I hope that you can properly take care of this matter. Your new flyer is the fastest developing and most promising company in our Banta City. I don't want you to be easily defeated. Samoyed Count waved his hand as he spoke. Suyi's eyes popped out in surprise. Based on the meaning in Samoyed Count's words, he was clearly very certain and supportive of new flyer. This was very good news for Sui. With the support of the Banta City City Lord, at least in Banta City, new flyer would have less trouble. Sir City Lord, please be assured. Although the Leo Chamber of Commerce is several times stronger than our new flyer, when it comes to magic machines, I can guarantee that they are not our match. Sui said in a strangely certain voice. Samoyed Count looked at Sui for a while before giving a satisfied nod. Very good. Then let's return to the topic from before. You said that the farmer support plan was mainly to free the farmers from the fields and let them do other work. I can understand this idea, but do you know that for Banta City, and even the entire Lampari Kingdom, the fields are the most fundamental thing? If there isn't enough grain to produce, everything is fake. When a person is hungry, they can do anything. Seeing Samoyed Count's serious expression, Sui also became serious. He said with a serious nod, I understand the Lord City Lord's worries. But Lord City Lord, I think that it is because you don't understand the agricultural magic machines, so you are worried. On this, you might be doubtful if I say anything, so I'll let the Lord Viscount explain it to you. Samoyed Count looked at Viscount Leslie on the side. Viscount Leslie was already prepared, so he calmly put down the teacup in his hand and nodded with a faint smile. Sir Count, I can testify for Sui on this point. Let's take the situation in my territory as an example. During the fall harvest this year, there are a total of 7 hectares of wheat that need to be harvested in my territory. If it was in the past, I would need to use all my slaves, guards, and other labor to harvest this 7 hectares in half a month. But after I bought 2 small magic harvesters from the Frestek Chamber of Commerce this year, it only took less than 2 days to harvest all of it. Moreover, I only used less than 20 slaves from beginning to end. Samoyed Count raised a brow. Is what you said true? In just 2 days, you used less than 20 slaves to harvest all of it? Sir Count, how could I lie to you? Not only me, you can also ask the other nobles in Banta City. As long as there are wheat fields in their territories that need to be harvested, everyone has bought a small magic harvester, which saves them a large amount of time and labor. Sir Count, your territory isn't here, but if it was, I strongly recommend you buy 2 because this thing is just too easy to use. Samoyed Count seriously looked over Sui for a while before slowly nodding. I only heard a bit before, but I never thought that it would be this shocking. Sui, even if we don't mention anything else, just based on this small magic harvester, your new flyer has made a large contribution. Viscount Leslie said with a laugh, Sir Count, don't be anxious, I'm not done yet. Other than the small magic harvester, new flyer has also released the small magic plowing machine, which has greatly increased the efficiency of plowing the soil before planting. Now with the help of the small magic plowing machine, I've already decided to open up the 21 hectares of farmland in my territory. When it's time to plant all of it, if nothing unexpected happens, next year's harvest will be several times higher than this year's. Samoyed Count didn't reveal a look of pleasant surprise this time, rather he knit his brows. Leslie, how could farming be this simple? Even if it's like you said, with the small magic harvester, it can increase the harvesting speed, and with the small magic plowing machine, it can increase the efficiency of plowing the soil. But farming isn't just about harvesting and plowing the soil. There are also things like growing seedlings, planting seeds, weeding, and drought resistance. You're opening up this much farmland, are you certain you have enough people? Viscount Leslie smiled without replying as he looked at Sui. Lord City Lord, the so-called agricultural magic machines aren't just the small magic harvester and the small magic harvester. Our new flyer will also develop the small magic excavator, the small magic water pump, the small magic digging machine, the small magic grader, and other magic machines. Our final goal is to use magic machines to replace all human labor, freeing human labor from farming. Just yesterday I discussed this with Viscount Leslie. We're planning to redesign the farmland in his territory, making it more suitable for farming magic machines and more suitable for planting rice. Wait, it's more suitable for growing rice. Count Sean was stunned. Samoyed was surprised. Banta City mainly grows wheat, why is Leslie changing to planting rice? This place isn't like Karma City with a rich water source, it's not worth it, right? Viscount Leslie revealed a smile. Lord Count, Banta City's water source isn't bad, it was just hard to use it before. Now with the help of the magic machines, it's much easier to use it. Then again, isn't it easy to get tired of eating bread every day? You have to change your tastes occasionally. Samoyed Count turned to look at Sui and suddenly gave a cold snort. I remember now, your new flyer has been promoting a new product, it's the magic rice cooker. This thing needs people to eat rice the most. No wonder you urged that kid Leslie to plant rice, you want our entire Banta City to plant rice, right? Sui smiled without saying a thing. Chapter 65. Talking to Samo Count had been very happy, so naturally it was a bit longer. When Sui returned home, the moon was already high in the sky and it was late at night. When he opened the door, Vivian wasn't waiting for him as usual. The house was dark and quiet, and there wasn't the slightest bit of sound. She shouldn't have been able to wait, so she went to sleep. Sui thought in his heart. When he took off his shoes and entered the room, he was surprised to find that on the table in the living room, there was a figure lying on it. Looking carefully under the moonlight, who else could it be other than Vivian? Based on the dishes on the table that hadn't been touched at all, it was possible that she had already prepared dinner at home. She had been waiting for Sui to come back for dinner, but when she couldn't wait, she fell asleep. Seeing Vivian's sleeping little face, Sui's heart filled with a trace of apology. Because Viscount Leslie had informed him that he was going to the City Lord's Palace's banquet, he didn't have time to come back and tell Vivian, making this little girl wait the entire time. I've been talking to Leslie and Samo Count about liberating productivity, but I've confined a young girl like Vivian to this small room, it really isn't right. Sui shook his head and gave a sigh. He leaned over and softly picked up Vivian. Compared to when Sui had bought her, although the current Vivian was still slender, she was clearly much heavier. It was a bit hard for Sui to pick her up. This was because 1. Vivian was at a fast-developing age and 2. Sui's living conditions were much better than when she was Viscount Leslie's slave, so her body condition quickly improved. Other than her body growing meat, the other parts of Vivian's body were clearly developing. When Sui was holding her, he could easily feel the fullness of her body, which made him a bit restless. It was a good thing that Sui wasn't an impulsive young man who was in his teens or 20s. Even if he knew that Vivian definitely wouldn't dare reject him, he still forced down his restlessness. He carried Vivian into her bedroom and put her down to sleep. After returning to the living room, Sui lit a candle. As soon as the candle lit up, it was like something flashed in Su Yi's mind and he suddenly tapped his head. Idiot, you're always thinking about what magic machine to invent. Isn't there a ready-made thing for me to make? Hey, if I develop this thing, Heinz will definitely be very satisfied. Since he began researching magic machines, Su Yi's mind would often have all kinds of ideas. There were some ideas that couldn't be realized because the science industry was weak, but there were some that could be realized and Su Yi recorded them one by one, waiting for the right time to release them. Now that he suddenly thought of this idea, Su Yi followed his habit and took out his notebook to record it down. When he sat down at the table, Su Yi was surprised to find that on the table Vivian had been lying on, there were several pieces of paper with drawings on them. There were also several pieces on the ground to the side. Su Yi picked up these pieces of paper to look over and found that the drawings on these pieces of paper were diagrams of various magic machines. Su Yi's face sunk. These diagrams were drawn when he occasionally studied them at home, but he never thought that Vivian's memory would be this good. Just by looking at them a few times, she could draw them all. These diagrams seemed normal, but they could be considered new flyers' trade secrets. If they fell into the hands of people like the Leo Chamber of Commerce who cared about magic machines, it would be a loss to New Flyer that would be greater than selling a few hundred magic machines. Su Yi calmly thought about it and quickly ruled out the possibility that Vivian was a corporate spy that made one's heart turn cold. Since Su Yi bought her, Vivian almost never left the house, and the only outsider she had contact with was Steele. Steele definitely wouldn't be a spy, so even if Vivian wanted to, she didn't have the qualifications to do it. Not to mention that Vivian was Su Yi's slave. According to the laws of the Lampari Kingdom, no matter how Su Yi treated her, it wouldn't be a problem even if he beat her to death. With Vivian's personality, she didn't have the guts. Thinking of this, Su Yi calmed down and seriously looked over the diagrams in his hand. It had to be said, although Vivian couldn't read, her talent for drawing was very high. These diagrams were actually the same as the ones Su Yi drew. Other than these diagrams, Vivian had actually drawn many complete designs for magic machines. From the looks of it, she had simply deduced based on these schematic diagrams and then completed the drawing. Although there were some differences from the final magic machines New Flyer made, there wasn't that much of a difference overall. Even Su Yi had to admit that just based on appearances, the magic machines drawn by Vivian were even more beautiful. Could it be that this little girl is a natural mechanical designer? Su Yi looked at these diagrams and his expression became very strange. As a genius mechanical engineer from Earth, Su Yi had seen many talented people. He knew better than anyone that there were indeed geniuses in this world that could make others speechless. But no matter what, he couldn't connect Vivian, who had always been a pitiful little slave, to a genius, not to mention connecting her to a strong machine. Moreover, before Su Yi, Signs didn't have magic machines at all. Who knew how this little girl had this talent? Things that couldn't be explained, Su Yi could only use his strong scientific mind to temporarily put it aside. He shook his head and honestly wrote down the ideas that had just appeared in his mind. After tidying up the table, he was too lazy to take a shower and went to sleep with his tired body. The next morning, Su Yi woke up to the sound of Vivian making breakfast. Su Yi's first thought was that he should move to another room. Otherwise, Vivian would wake him up every time she made breakfast and he wouldn't be able to sleep in if he wanted to. His second thought was the diagrams he saw last night. After being in a daze for a bit, Su Yi got up and quickly washed his face, waking up. By the time he finished washing up, Vivian had already placed the breakfast she had prepared on the table. After living with Su Yi for 2 months, Vivian had already formed a tacit understanding with Su Yi. Su Yi picked up a piece of bread and looked at Vivian, who was waiting for him to eat. After thinking about it, he said, "Vivian, did you not eat dinner last night?" Vivian gave a slight nod. Master didn't come back, so I kept waiting for you." But later, I fell asleep and didn't even know when you came back. I even had to trouble Master to carry me in. Remember, if I miss dinner time and don't come back, you don't have to wait for me. I'm very busy with work now, so I may eat out a lot. If you wait for me like this every time, you will often be hungry. Do you understand? Sue reminded her. But Master, you haven't eaten. How can I eat by myself? Vivian opened her big eyes and looked at Sue in confusion. This is an order, you just have to obey. Oh. Vivian obediently agreed. Also, Sue took out the diagrams he put away yesterday and waved them in front of Vivian. You drew these. Vivian's face flashed with a trace of shyness, and she lowered her head. Sorry, Master, I didn't ask for your permission and used your pen and paper. That's not important. Come on, raise your head and answer my question properly. Sue carefully observed Vivian's face and found that there was indeed only a trace of shyness on her face, and nothing else, so he was relieved. He didn't believe that such an inexperienced little girl could have such good acting skills, so there should be no problem with Vivian. Vivian, did you draw these diagrams because you felt bored staying at home, so you drew to pass the time? Sue took out one of the diagrams, and it was his portrait. This portrait, along with another portrait of Steele, and a few landscape paintings, were found by Sue later, and further dispelled his suspicion of Vivian. I have to say that you are very talented in drawing. Look, you drew me so well, it's almost like a photo. Sue pointed at his own portrait and praised. Photo? Vivian looked at Sue in shock. What's that? It's something that prints the image directly on the paper. You haven't seen it before. Sue waved his hand. Don't worry about that, Vivian, answer my question. Do you feel bored staying here all day? No, I'm not bored, I'm very happy here, really. Vivian frantically waved her hands and denied. Tell me the truth, Sue said in a deep voice. Vivian was shocked, and hesitated for a long time before replying, Yes, it's a little boring, there are too few things to do here, I'm not used to it. That's right. Since you're bored, you should have told me earlier. Vivian, you've been with me for more than 2 months, don't you know what kind of person I am? Master, you're a good person, I'm just a slave, you don't have to care about me. Vivian lowered her head and said timidly. Even if you're just a slave, you're still my slave. How about this, Vivian, since you feel that there are too few things to do and it's a little boring, I'll find something for you to do, so you won't be bored. Vivian looked up in shock, and saw Sue's evil smile as if he was trying to kidnap a little girl. He asked gently, Vivian, do you want to go to school? Chapter 66. The students of the Baron Richter Magic Academy were a bit surprised. The classes in the school were already arranged every day, but there was a strange extra class today. The name of this class was very strange. It was called the Theoretical Foundations of Magic Machines. Moreover, this was a very rare public class that was open to all the students of the school. This meant that as long as they were willing, any student of the Baron Richter Magic Academy could participate. The students in their adolescence were naturally filled with curiosity, so even if they weren't forced to participate in this class, when the class began, over half of the students of the school came to the large lecture hall. The Academy's leaders probably didn't expect so many students to attend the lecture when they arranged for it. Even though the lecture hall was already the Academy's largest lecture hall, more than half of the students had rushed in. Not only did they fill up every single seat in the lecture hall, they even filled up all the empty seats in the lecture hall to the point that there wasn't even a place for them to stand. Oren Zedeman was one of the first students to charge into the large lecture hall. He was currently sitting in the front row of the large lecture hall, talking to the students around him in a loud voice. Evan, I dare bet with you that the teacher coming out later will definitely be Chairman Sue. Do you dare bet with me? Oren said to the slender boy on his right in a provocative voice. The boy called Evan gave a cold snort of disdain. You're speaking nonsense. In this entire Banta city, other than Chairman Su, who else understands magic machines? Could it be that you can find someone else? If I were to bet with you, that would be unless my brain was broken. That's right, Oren, your bet is too ridiculous. I think that we should bet on what Chairman Su will say later. A boy a bit further away also agreed. Theoretical Foundations of Magic Machines. Based on the name of this class, it should be a simple introduction. After all, this is Chairman Su's first time giving a lecture, so if he goes too deep, I think that most of the people here won't be able to understand. The one sitting to Oren's left was a girl with a head of smooth golden hair. She pointed at the students with expectant and doubtful looks as she spoke in a low voice. That's right, other than us, who else understands magic machines? Oren boasted without any shame. If Sui was here, he would have found that the students sitting with Oren were the students who had been drawing magic arrays in the factory for the past few months. Compared to the other students of the Baron Ricto Magic Academy, they were indeed qualified to say this. But Oren's voice was a bit loud and was heard by the students not far behind him, causing them to be dissatisfied. Hey, Oren, what are you being arrogant for? Didn't you just work for the Frestek Chamber of Commerce for a few days? Do you really think you understand magic machines that well? I've heard that you guys are only drawing the simplest magic arrays there. What do you mean by understanding magic machines? I think you guys only have a superficial understanding of it. A male student sneered. Oren didn't show any weakness as he turned his head and raised his head, saying, Even if I only know a superficial understanding, I still know more than you. What? You don't like it? That male student immediately became furious, pointing at Oren and sternly shouting, Good brat, if you have the guts, don't leave after school. Oren snorted, Fine, I won't leave. Who's afraid of who? Seeing that the quarrel between the two was about to escalate, a teacher just happened to walk into the lecture hall. The students immediately recognized that it was the academy's director, Hiller, who had always been known for his strictness, and instantly quieted down. Oren and that male student glared at each other, and could only temporarily cease their banners and drums, turning their attention to the front. Hiller's gaze swept across, and seeing that the lecture hall had quieted down, he nodded his head in satisfaction. Then, he lightly coughed and loudly said, Students, let us warmly welcome the new Flyers chairman, Sui. Oren and the students beside him looked at each other with a, as expected, look before giving a strong round of applause. Sui walked up to the lectern and saw Oren and the others sitting in front. He nodded to them with a smile before raising his right hand. The students all quieted down and looked at him with curious gazes. During this time, the new flyer had released new magic machines one after another. It could be said that they had attracted countless gazes in Banta City and were in the limelight. Towards these magic machines, there were many traditional magicians who called them nonsense and even called them an insult to magic. But for the rebellious students of Baron Ricto Magic Academy, they found it very interesting. It made them very interested in the new Flyers chairman, Sui, who had single-handedly invented these magic machines. Although they already knew from Oren and the others that Sui was only a young man in his 20s, after personally seeing Sui, the students were still shocked by how young he was. To these students, learning magic was a very difficult matter. To be able to master magic arrays and even change them at will, as well as fusing them with those ice-cold iron machines, this was an incredible matter. This chairman Sui didn't seem that much older than them, but not only did he have such a strong level of magic, he also had so many strange ideas that made people gasp in surprise. Facing the curious gazes of the students, Sui spoke. Students, I know that everyone doesn't like to listen to nonsense, so I'll directly get to the main topic. The reason why I asked Director Hiller to arrange this class for me is not to educate everyone as a teacher, but rather to have a chat with everyone. As for what to talk about? Of course it's magic machines. The name of this class is the Theoretical Foundations of Magic Machines, so I'll talk about this foundation. I think that everyone should know a bit about our new Flyers products, so you should know what kind of magic machines are. As for magic machines, everyone is a student of Baron Richto Magic Academy, so you should know more about magic. But you should be a bit unfamiliar with the term machine, so I'll be focusing on machines today. The so-called machine is a kind of tool. Using this tool, people can easily do some work, and it can also reduce the difficulty of some work. Let me give you a simple example. When digging, I don't think anyone would use their hands to dig. Instead, they would use a shovel because it would be easier and more convenient to dig with a shovel. Then a shovel is actually a machine. Of course, a shovel is a very simple machine. As for the machine I'm talking about, it is a bit more complicated. Students, you should know that our Frestec Chamber of Commerce has just released a magic rice cooker. This is a normal household magic machine, and its specific use is to cook rice. Without the magic rice cooker, if everyone wanted to eat rice or porridge, they would need to use firewood to make a fire and then cook the rice in the pot. But with the magic rice cooker, one just needs to pour the rice and water into the magic rice cooker and press the switch. After patiently waiting for a while, it will automatically cook. How about it? Compared to making a fire to cook, isn't this more convenient? Magic machines can also be called magic machines. This is because the machine is the foundation and magic is used to drive the machine. Students, you all study magic, so you should know that magic is very powerful. Then have you ever thought that other than using magic to kill enemies, could it be used in other places? I've thought about it, so I've designed magic machines. Today I don't want to discuss what magic can be used for, I just want to introduce to everyone what magic machines can be used for. For example, the magic rice cooker can be used to cook rice, the small magic harvester can be used to harvest grain more easily, the magic fan can be used to blow out cool air. There are many things that magic can do. Right now our new flyer has just started, but I believe that everyone will see many different kinds of magic machines in the future. Moreover, I believe that these magic machines will change everyone's lives bit by bit. Why can magic machines do all of this? This is the topic of today's lesson. Magic can be used as a power source and can be used to drive machines to do things that are hard for humans to do. This is actually related to some specialized knowledge. And this knowledge is the theory of magic machines. The basic concept is that magic is the power source and machines are the performance. Specifically speaking, at first, the students only had a bit of doubt and didn't seriously listen. But as Sue-E kept talking, the expressions on the students' faces gradually became focused. The theory that Sue-E was talking about was something that the students had never heard of before. The young students were at a stage where they were trying to absorb information from the outside world, so for something as interesting and novel as the theory of magic machines, of course they would be interested in it. So Sue-E became more and more excited as he spoke, and the students became more and more interested in listening. When Director Shearer came in for the third time to remind him, Sue-E finally woke up. He found that the sky outside had already turned yellow and it was already past school time. Sue-E could only announce that today's lesson would end here. The students weren't satisfied with this, and they all asked Sue-E to talk a bit more. Sue-E could only helplessly say that today's lesson would end here. At the same time, he hinted that he would continue teaching in the future and if the students were interested, they could come and listen again. Only then did the students let Sue-E go and they all enthusiastically left the lecture hall. Seeing the enthusiastic appearance of the students, Director Shearer on the side gave a sigh. He shook his head at Sue-E and said, "Chairman Sue, I really shouldn't have agreed to let you teach this lesson. Look, all these students are interested in you. I'm worried that they won't be able to focus in class in the future." Sui laughed. "How could that be?" "Director Shearer, my lesson today has always been related to magic. The students being interested in this is a good thing. They will definitely be more interested in learning magic in the future. You should be happy about this." "Are you certain that they are interested in magic and not magic machines?" Director Shearer said with a cold snort. Sui laughed. He had donated 500 gold coins to the Baron Ricto Magic Academy, forcing Vivian into the Baron Ricto Magic Academy while also exchanging for this chance to teach. If he couldn't plant the seed of becoming a magic mechanical engineer in the hearts of these students, this 500 gold coins would have been wasted. As a businessman, how could he do something that would cause him to suffer such a loss? Chapter 67. Since he reached an agreement with Great Magician Camilla, Sui came back to the Carmilla Magic Tower much more often than before. Especially after discussing with the Lord City Lord a few days ago and deciding to develop the agricultural magic machines, Sui came back even more often. The agricultural magic machines needed strong power, and the thing that could provide strong power was naturally more powerful magic. Of the magicians that Sui was working with, other than Great Magician Camilla, the others didn't have this ability yet. Now Sui had gradually divided the research facility into two parts. One part was Steel, Evita, and Akali, who were mainly in charge of researching the magic arrays needed for the household magic machines. The other part was only left with Great Magician Camilla, who was mainly in charge of the heavy magic machines that needed strong power. Because Sui was the only one who had the ability to combine magic and machines, he had to participate in the research on both sides. Of course, this wasn't a good situation. It was impossible for Sui to complete the mechanical engineering research alone. As long as there were more and more magicians with the same abilities as Sui, the research would become more and more powerful. So during these days, whether it was with Steele's group of 3 or with Great Magician Camilla, Sui paid attention to teaching them some basic mechanical engineering knowledge. Since the 4 of them could become outstanding magicians, their learning and comprehension abilities were naturally very good, so it was very easy for them to receive this new knowledge. Now that Sui was proposing a new magic machine, they could even give their own opinions from time to time. Of course, just the 4 of them were far from enough. So Sui ran to the Baron Ricto Magic Academy to give a public class. His goal was to plant a seed in the minds of these students, letting them have a preliminary understanding of combining magic and machines. If there was a chance in the future, Sui would continue giving public classes at the Baron Ricto Magic Academy. If possible, he would even turn this course into a regular course in the Baron Ricto Magic Academy. If even a tenth of the students who graduated from the school were invested in magic machine research, it would be a power that couldn't be ignored. "Hey, Chairman Su, you're here again." As soon as Sui stepped into the Mage Tower, a mage greeted him warmly. "Hey, good morning. Is the Great Magician here?" Sui greeted him with a smile. The circle of magicians was not big and the magic tower was even smaller. The news of Sui and Great Magician Camilla working together could not be hidden at all, so it didn't take long for it to spread through the magic tower. Almost all the magicians in the magic tower knew that through Great Magician Camilla's cooperation with Sui, he received 1,000 gold coins from Sui each year. The magic tower being able to operate normally during this time could be considered completely relying on Sui's strong injection of 1,000 gold coins. To put it more directly, Sui could even be considered the breadwinner of these magicians in the magic tower. So when facing Sui, these magicians who had disdained him before were naturally much more friendly. His Excellency Great Magician is still researching magic on the top floor like normal. He will definitely be very happy to see you. That magician replied with a smile on his face. All right, thank you. After Sui gave his thanks with a nod, he didn't go up the magic stairs to the top floor and went to the lab he was in. As soon as he opened the door, he saw everyone in the research room sprawled on the table, seriously conducting magic research. But if he looked closely, he found that they weren't researching normal magic, rather they were researching all kinds of magic arrays. Turning his gaze to the wall of the research room, he saw a huge drawing hanging on the wall. The drawing was of a strange-looking machine. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Lotte looked up in surprise. When she saw that it was Sui, she immediately jumped up. Sui, you're here. This greeting shocked everyone. Everyone looked up and warmly greeted Sui. Sui returned their greetings with a smile before asking Lotte, "How is it? How is the research going?" Lotte's happy expression after seeing Sui immediately turned into worry. She shook her head and said with a sigh, "It's not that good. We've already researched the magic arrays needed for the various parts of the magic excavator, but we can't solve the problem of combining them together without causing conflict. As for creating a whole like you said, we don't have a clue at all. Let me see the results of your research first." "All right." Sui took the information that Lotte had gathered and seriously looked it over. Reaching an agreement with Great Magician Camilla, of course it didn't mean that all the research that Sui needed would be done by Great Magician Camilla alone. For a great magician like him, the magicians in the magic tower could be considered his assistants. So when faced with the research tasks that Sui proposed, he would give the things that he didn't need to do to the magicians under him to complete. Since Sui had worked in this lab before and the magicians in this lab had worked with Sui on some magic machines before, Great Magician Camilla would normally give this research to this lab. Because Sui would give Great Magician Camilla some gold coins each time he finished a research task, Great Magician Camilla would give a portion to the magicians in this lab. So the magicians in this lab were envied by the other magicians in the magic tower. After looking at the research results of Lotte and the others, Sui quickly found the problem. These magicians were stronger than Steele's group of 3, but it was because of this that their concept of magic was rigid. When they studied these magic arrays, they still used traditional magic arrays. The magic excavator that Sui gave them this time could be considered the most complicated magic machine that New Flyer had developed. If they used traditional magic arrays to deal with it, of course there would be all kinds of problems. Actually, Sui had overestimated them because when he was discussing with Great Magician Camilla and Steele's group of 3, Sui had always been on the side, so they rarely encountered these problems. The magicians in the lab were doing their own research, so without Sui's influence, it was hard for them to change. If Sui had given them more detailed blueprints, there would have been fewer problems. Thinking of this, Sui relaxed his brows. He gathered everyone in the lab and spread out the blueprints, giving them a detailed explanation. Sui's explanation was very detailed, not even letting go of the smallest details. He showed all of his ideas to these magicians. What he hoped for now was to change their minds and let them become qualified magic mechanical engineers as soon as possible, making it easier for them to participate in magic machine research. With them changing, when the other magicians in the magic tower saw the benefits, there was a high chance that they would change as well. Changing the magicians in the magic tower, it was possible to change the magicians in Banta City, the entire Lampari Kingdom, and finally all the magicians in the signs. At that time, it would no longer be a dream to create a complete industrial system in the signs. It wasn't easy to explain the various aspects of the magic excavator. The most difficult thing was to explain the theory behind the design of this magic machine. There were many times when Sui had to teach them the most basic knowledge of physics and geometry. This was knowledge that could only be considered elementary school students on Earth, but it made these magicians who were worshipped by the other people in the signs shocked. After spending an entire 3 hours, Sui finally explained all of his ideas. Seeing that everyone around him finally revealed looks of understanding, Sui let out a sigh of relief. Properly speaking, these magicians weren't that old, so it should be easy for them to understand new knowledge. But when Sui talked to them, he found that it was even more difficult than talking to Great Magician Camilla. When discussing magic machines with Great Magician Camilla, there were many things that Sui didn't need to explain. Great Magician Camilla could understand it himself, and could even draw inferences from it. It had to be known, Great Magician Camilla was an old man who was almost 60 years old. After explaining his requirements again, Sui left the lab and went up the magic stairs, arriving at the top of the magic tower. Great Magician Camilla was indeed researching magic in the lab at the top. Of course, he was still researching magic. Seeing Sui come in, Great Magician Camilla looked up at him and suddenly said, "I have good news and bad news. Sui, which one do you want to hear first?" Chapter 68. Sui was a bit stunned. He thought that since His Excellency Great Magician had enough gold coins from him, his mood was much better compared to before. Now he was actually in the mood to joke with him. Let's hear the bad news first. I like to leave the good things for last. This is not a good habit. If you leave the good things for too long, they can be stolen by others. Great Magician Camilla shook his head and said something that Sui didn't understand. But since you want to hear the bad news first, I'll satisfy your wish. Listen well, the bad news is that the Sorcerers' Guild has rejected your proposal to patent the magic array. Sui gave a sigh, but there wasn't much disappointment on his face. Is there a reason? There is a reason. This is because the Sorcerers' Guild was created by the cooperation of magicians. Since the beginning, the Sorcerers' Guild has always advocated cooperation between magicians, researching magic together, improving together, and making magic stronger. So your proposal has already gone against the basic principles of the Sorcerers' Guild, so of course it won't pass. Great Magician Camilla explained. Researching together and improving together? Sui couldn't help laughing. There are people who believe this kind of joke? Of the magicians in the signs, which one of them isn't secretly researching magic? If they make a breakthrough with great difficulty, they will definitely hide it, afraid that other magicians will find out. You're telling me that magicians want to cooperate? Hey! Great Magician Camilla knit his brows and forcefully slapped the table. Sui, pay attention to your attitude. No matter what you think in your heart, the Sorcerers' Guild's principles are indeed like this. This proposal was made by a great magician like me, so it was rejected and it didn't have any effect. If it was you who made this proposal, it was very likely that you would be stripped of your right to participate in the certification exam. Do you understand the seriousness of this matter? Sui was surprised. Your Excellency Great Magician, I only asked you to submit the proposal for me, I didn't ask you to bear this name. This isn't much, just treat it as me working for the 1,000 gold coins. Great Magician Camilla shook his head and casually said, All right, now that you've heard the bad news, I'll tell you the good news. Although your proposal didn't pass, I recommended you to the Magicians' Union. Next month, you can participate in the qualification certification exam with the special recommendation of a great magician. If you perform well in the exam, you can get a higher evaluation than the average magician who participates in the exam. Sui smiled bitterly. Compared to the bad news, this is a far cry. Your Excellency Great Magician, you should know that I don't have much interest in becoming a senior magician. Getting a higher evaluation doesn't mean anything to me. Great Magician Camilla glared at him and said with a cold snort, Brat, I'm warning you, don't be too arrogant. I know that you've earned quite a bit of money from researching magic machines, so you don't have much interest in becoming a powerful magician. But I have to tell you, on the signs, becoming a powerful magician is very important. If you can become a great magician like me or an archmagus that is even stronger than me, you will find that many things will be much easier for you. Take your proposal for example. I am a great magician, so it's fine even if it doesn't pass. But if it was you who proposed it, it was very likely that the Sorcerers' Guild would strip you of your qualifications to participate in the exam. But if the one who proposed it was an archmagus, even if this proposal went against the principles of the Sorcerers' Guild, it wouldn't have been rejected like this and would have been properly studied. If it was a great magus who proposed it, Brat, do you know what consequences this would have? Sue-E revealed a confused look. What consequences? Great Magician Camilla gave another cold snort. Brat, you don't know what a great magus means at all. There have been less than 10 great magi on the signs in the past several thousand years. Any one of them is a super character that can shake the entire continent with a single step. If this proposal was proposed by a great magus, it wouldn't just be a question of whether it would pass or not. There would be countless people studying the hidden meaning behind the great magus proposal, and no one would be able to predict what the consequences would be in the end. Sue-E was stunned hearing this. He thought that this great magus was a bit too strong. According to this, his influence was even stronger than the leaders of the countries on Earth. Seeing Sue-Yi's expression, Great Magus Camilla gave a cold laugh. How about it, Brat? Now you know that becoming a powerful magician is very necessary, right? I won't talk about something as far away as a great magus. If you can become an archmagus that is stronger than me, then at least in the Lampari kingdom, your words will have more power than the king's. Although your proposal might not pass the Sorcerers' Guild, I dare guarantee that the royal family will fully support you. How about it? Are you moved? Do you have the desire to become a powerful magician? Sue-E was stunned for a bit before suddenly raising his hand. A small dark red fireball flew out of his palm at Great Magician Camilla. Great Magician Camilla's heart skipped a beat. He raised a brow and a transparent light blue barrier appeared in front of him. When the fireball hit the barrier, it caused the barrier to tremble. It created ripples like water and then with a "pu" sound, it disappeared without a trace. Great Magician Camilla put away the barrier and looked at Sue-E with a look of surprise. Flame Burst Spell. Brat, when did you learn the Flame Burst spell? Sue-E laughed. How about it? Your Excellency Great Magician, how is the power of this Flame Burst spell? Great Magician Camilla narrowed his eyes to look at Sue-E for a while before slowly nodding. It's very good. The Flame Burst spell is a 4th grade fire spell that is considered very hard to grasp. I never thought that you would be able to cast it this quickly and even change its size. It seems like you've already grasped it quite well. After saying this, Great Magician Camilla gave a deep sigh. He shook his head and said, Sue-E, since you have such outstanding magic talent, why aren't you focused on studying magic? I'm more and more certain that as long as you are focused, you will become an archmagus that is much stronger than me. When that time comes, wouldn't it be much easier for you to do what you want? Even if you like studying magic machines, it wouldn't be too late to study them after you become an archmagus. Sue-E gave a shrug. I've already said it. Everyone has their own ambitions. Perhaps Your Excellency Great Magician and all the other magicians of the signs think that becoming a powerful magician is the ultimate goal, but I insist that using magic to improve people's lives is more important. Perhaps you're right. If I become an archmagus, it will be easier for me to study and promote magic machines, but Your Excellency Great Magician, you've forgotten an important problem, which is time. You think that with my talent, if I focused on studying magic, how many years would it take for me to become an archmagus? This. Great Magician Camilla thought for a bit before shaking his head. That is hard to say. Becoming a powerful magician not only requires time, it also requires some luck. If it goes well with your talent, you might become a powerful archmagus in 30 years. Of course, this is already considered very fast in the signs. 30 years? I'll be close to 60 years old then. Your Excellency Great Magician, how old do you think I can live for? If I start studying magic machines in 30 years, how many years can I study them for? Great Magician Camilla was speechless. A person's energy and time are limited. Your Excellency Great Magician, I've already decided to study magic machines, so it's very hard for me to also study magic. Of course, while researching magic machines, my magic power is also quickly growing, right? After a while, Great Magician Camilla gave a sigh and said with a bitter smile, "All right, this is the last time I'm advising you. I won't mention this topic again in the future. You aren't a child like Steele, you have your own thoughts and ambitions, so I have no way or reason to stop you. But as an old man who has lived longer than you, I still want to remind you that on the continent, becoming a powerful magician is useful at any time. You said that you can increase your magic power while studying magic machines. This is very good. Don't forget this, it will be very helpful to you in the future." Sui gave a serious nod. "Yes, I understand. Many thanks for your advice. Other than that, Steele has always said to me that she isn't a child, so if you say this to her, be careful that she doesn't get angry." Great Magician Camilla suddenly looked at Sui with a strange look and asked, "Sui, you don't think that Steele is a child?" Sui was stunned. After thinking about it, he replied, "Based on the age difference between us, perhaps she can be considered a child. But objectively speaking, she can't be considered a child no matter what. Then again, recently she has experienced quite a few things and has matured quite a bit, so she can't be considered a child." "You said that she's matured quite a bit?" Great Magician Camilla narrowed his eyes and looked at Sui with a strange expression for a while before suddenly saying, "Kid, remember what I just said. It's best not to leave good things for last because it's very likely that others will steal it." Sui looked at Great Magician Camilla in a daze, as his head was filled with confusion. What was with Great Magician Camilla today? Why did he say such strange things? Chapter 69. In the middle of October, it should be time for autumn planting, but Viscount Leslie's territory didn't have any signs of autumn planting at all. Rather, there were endless roaring sounds that came from all over. Looking around, there were several large and small magic machines of various shapes moving through the fields, changing the appearance of the barren land. This was Viscount Leslie's decision. After receiving the support of large amounts of magic machines from Sui, Viscount Leslie decided to open up all the land under his name for farming. He would also follow Sui's suggestion to make large-scale changes. Before this, because Viscount Leslie's farmland was all planted by hand, he had been very casual with the planning of the farmland. But now that he had decided to open up all the farmland, Sui suggested that he replan it. He would connect all the farmland together and divide it into equal squares. At the same time, he would dig wider ditches in each piece of farmland, making it easier to plant rice and drought-resistant crop. Other than this, Sui also suggested that Viscount Leslie turn all the farmland into flat land of the same height, which would make it easier to use machines in the future. To be honest, it wasn't that Viscount Leslie hadn't considered reorganizing the land under his name before, but he had limited manpower before. Even if he had this idea, he didn't have enough manpower to complete this matter. Just with the 300 slaves and less than 100 guards under him, he could only open up 7 hectares of farmland each year. With the help of Sui's agricultural magic machines this year, this idea could finally become a reality. First they used the small magic plowing machine to break the surface of the higher ground, and then they moved the dirt to the lower ground to fill it in. After repeating this several times, the farmland under Viscount Leslie's name had become a large flat piece. At this time, it was time for the new flyer's newly developed small magic excavator to make its appearance. First they used the small magic plowing machine to loosen the soil in the area, and then they used the small magic excavator to dig a little bit in the farmland. After a while, there was a large hole that was close to 1/2 meter wide and deep. As the small magic excavator kept moving back, the mechanical arm at the front kept moving back and forth, creating a deep hole. Soon there was a long and deep ditch in the farmland. Very good. At this rate, it seems that it will only take 1 day to completely transform this 1 hectare of farmland. It wasn't just Viscount Leslie and Sue E who came to the farm today, even Count Sean Samo came after hearing the news. Seeing the high efficiency of the magic machines on the farm, Count Samo couldn't help praising. If it was done by hand, it might not even be finished in a week. City Lord, in fact, I'm very dissatisfied with this speed. Sue E shook his head. The power of the small magic excavator that we've designed is still too low. According to my ideas, the real magic excavator doesn't need the help of the magic plowing machine at all, it can dig a ditch by itself. My final goal is to use the excavator to dig up rocks, which is something that the small magic excavator you're seeing right now can't compare to. It can even dig up rocks? You wouldn't be joking, right? Count Samo said in a surprised voice. No, of course I'm not joking. If it wasn't limited by the materials, we could have placed a stronger magic array on the magic machines. Like this, the magic excavator's power would increase by quite a bit and it wouldn't be strange for it to be able to dig up rocks in the end. Sui said in a certain voice. Of course this wasn't bragging. After studying with great magician Camilla for a long time, Sui was very clear on how powerful high-level magic was. The legendary forbidden spells could even compare to the nuclear bombs on Earth. Comparing it like this, as long as they could properly use the power of magic on the magic machines, it wouldn't be a fantasy for the magic machines to be able to compare to the machines on Earth. It was a pity that they were limited by the rough iron craftsmanship of the signs, so these magic machines couldn't withstand large amounts of power. So Sui could only put these ideas in his stomach for now. It's good for young people to have big goals, but bread has to be eaten bite by bite, it's not good to be in a rush. Count Samo patted Suyi's shoulder with a smile as he comforted him. The magic machines you've designed have already surprised me. If it was before, I would never have imagined that you could reconstruct such a large area of farmland in such a short period of time. It's no wonder that kid Leslie confidently told me that he wanted to reclaim all the farmland under his name. Looking at it now, there really is hope. Sue suddenly laughed. Lord City Lord, Lord Viscount is actually using the farmland under his name to help me experiment. Although our new flyer has developed all these magic machines, if they haven't been tested, it wouldn't work. This is the attitude that a responsible company should have. As for that kid Leslie, I think that he really wants you to experiment on his territory. Don't you know how jealous the other nobles of the city are of him right now? Count Samo said with a faint smile. Sui couldn't help laughing. Not only did he know this, he had experienced it countless times. After knowing that Sui would provide many new magic machines to help Viscount Leslie reconstruct his farmland, the other nobles of Banta City all made the same request to Sui. But Sui's current factory was limited, and he could only satisfy the needs of Viscount Leslie's family. He couldn't agree to the requests of the other nobles at all. Moreover, even if New Flyer could produce many agricultural magic machines, Sui didn't dare casually agree to any noble's request. Viscount Leslie was fine since Sui had started with him, whether it was the magic air conditioner, the small magic harvester, or the small magic plowing machine. Everyone knew that Viscount Leslie's relationship with Sui wasn't normal, but as long as Sui dared casually agree to any noble's request, he would definitely offend all the other nobles. Sui wasn't a fool. Why would he do such a thankless thing? Of course, when Sui rejected these nobles, he also gave them a guarantee. He promised that next spring, New Flyer would produce enough magic machines to satisfy the needs of all the nobles. Even if there were still several months until next spring, Sui had already received high orders worth close to 10,000 gold coins. This order was for all kinds of agricultural magic machines, so it guaranteed that the dwarves led by Camby would be busy all winter. However, this was something that Sue-yi was very worried about. The magic machine workshop wasn't just for producing agricultural magic machines. Compared to this, Sue-yi hoped that they could focus on developing magic machines. Because for industrial development, the magic machines were the foundation of the foundation. It was very hard for any machine to leave the magic machines. If the magic machines weren't developed enough, the development of the entire industry would be limited. This was not something that Sue-yi wanted to see. But Sue-yi couldn't reject these orders at all, so he had been faced with a painful choice during this time. If he wanted to develop the magic machine industry, he had to earn as much money as possible. This was because researching the magic machine industry required large amounts of gold coins, and any research required large amounts of resources and manpower. However, if he wanted to earn more money, he had to shift his focus. Therefore, delaying the research of the magic machine industry was like putting the cart before the horse. In the end, there are too few people. Sue-yi gave a sigh in his heart before turning to Count Samo to ask, "Right, Lord City Lord, the matter I asked you to help with last time, have you made any progress?" Samo Count was stunned before he came back to his senses. He slightly knit his brows. "You're talking about helping you recruit craftsmen? This is a bit difficult. Your requirements for craftsmen are too high and there aren't many who meet your requirements in our Banta city, so there are also few who meet your requirements in other cities. Not to mention that the craftsmen who meet your requirements are rare talents in their cities, so they won't easily change places and come to our Banta city. So, it's also very hard for me." Sue-yi gave a helpless sigh. Actually, he was very clear that Count Samo was right. If it was that easy to recruit craftsmen, he wouldn't need to be this worried. It seemed like he had to place his hopes on the dwarves. When he mentioned this matter to Camby last time, Camby said that he could find a way to contact the dwarves of the other tribes. If possible, he could help New Flyer recruit more dwarven craftsmen. But Sue-yi, don't be too disappointed. I can't help you recruit craftsmen, but I can help you with something else. Samo Count Samo suddenly said. Oh! Sue-yi looked at Samo Count Samo with a bit of surprise. Samo Count Samo pointed at the magic machines working hard in the field and said, "I've already reported the agricultural magic machines your New Flyer invented to the kingdom's agriculture department. At the same time, I've also written a private letter to His Majesty, mentioning these things. Whether it is the agriculture department or His Majesty, they've both praised this. In the end, they've decided to exempt a part of your Shinfei Chamber of Commerce's agricultural magic machines from tax. At the same time, they will promote these agricultural magic machines to the kingdom. If nothing unexpected happens, His Majesty will summon you soon, so it's best if you prepare your heart." Sue-yi's eyes instantly lit up. Exempt from all taxes? It had to be known that the Lampari Kingdom's business tax was very high. For a small company like New Flyer, the highest business tax was over 40%. With the price of a small magic harvester being 70 gold coins, if they were exempt from all taxes, that meant that New Flyer could earn close to 20 gold coins. This was equal to His Majesty and the Agriculture Department giving New Flyer a large amount of money. Of course, it was impossible to exempt all taxes. This would cause the other companies in the kingdom to be dissatisfied, so His Majesty wasn't that stupid. But as long as they could exempt a part of it, it would bring great benefits to Sue-yi and New Flyer. The most important thing was the last sentence. His Majesty and the Agriculture Department would promote these agricultural magic machines to the kingdom. This was equal to official advertising. With the support of His Majesty and the Agriculture Department, it meant that New Flyer's agricultural magic machines could easily be sold to every part of the Lampari Kingdom. When that time comes, just by selling these agricultural magic machines, New Flyer could become a first-class company in the Lampari Kingdom. Chapter 70. Of course, Sui, His Majesty and the Agriculture Department also hope that since you're exempted from taxes, your new flyer's agricultural magic machines can be sold at a lower price. At least all the nobles in the kingdom can afford them. Samo Count added. I ask the Lord City Lord to tell His Majesty that this is something our new flyer should do. Perhaps you should also tell His Majesty about our company's farmer support plan, that way His Majesty will know that our company is a company with a sense of social responsibility. Sui said with a smile. What is social responsibility? Why do you always say these strange words? Samo Count looked at Sui with a confused look. Of course I've also reported your farmer support plan to His Majesty and His Majesty has praised it. He said that he wants to hear your explanation when he summons you, so you should also prepare yourself. All right, I will definitely have His Majesty agree to this plan. It would be best if this plan could be promoted in the kingdom, Sui said with a nod. You can give your opinion when you see His Majesty, but remember, you can't speak carelessly. If you keep speaking like this in front of me and that kid Leslie, don't blame me for not reminding you if you cause any trouble. Samo Count seriously said. Sui, you and your new flyer are the focus of attention in our Banta City, so no matter what you do, you have to be careful. Sui looked at Samo Count with a bit of surprise. He thought that the Lord City Lord's words weren't casual, rather it was a kind reminder. That's right, I forgot that you're a magician. The Sorcerers Guild's exam next month will be held in Anvil City. You should be going to participate, right? Samo Count asked. I've already discussed this with Great Magician Camilla. I'll be participating when the time comes. Alright, since you're going to Anvil City next month, you don't need to make another trip. I'll send a letter to His Majesty today and tell him about this. When you participate in the Sorcerers Guild's exam, I'll have His Majesty summon you. Sui quickly thanked him with a faint smile. Many thanks to the Lord City Lord for thinking of me. Samo Count gave a cold snort. I'm taking care of you because you invented these agricultural magic machines. If Leslie's farmland doesn't have any good results, do you think I'll still be polite to you? Sui laughed. Lord City Lord, please be assured, even if I have to go all out, I will definitely give the Lord Viscount's farmland a good harvest. ####. 2 days later, Sui appeared in the dwarf tribe where Master Lanus came from. This time was different from the last time he came with Master Lanus. Because Sui had invested and the dwarves had worked hard, they had built a path from the dwarf tribe to the main road outside. Sui could directly ride a horse carriage into the dwarf tribe this time. This was the first time many of the dwarven children had seen a horse carriage, so they couldn't help surrounding it. Sui had already prepared candies and pastries, which immediately attracted the cheers of the children. The dwarf chief Saluka came forward with a wide smile. Chairman Su, you haven't come in this long. I thought that you had already forgotten about us dwarven friends. Sui also gave Saluka a strong hug with a wide smile. Then he pointed at Camby beside him and said, How could that be? Camby and those dwarven brothers are people I interact with every day. Every time I see them, I'll think of my dwarven friends here. I was just too busy during this time, so I didn't come. How is it? Has everyone been well during this time? Thanks to Chairman Su's financial aid, our tribe's living conditions are much better than before. Not only do the children not have to go hungry, they can even wear new clothes. Saluka laughed. No, Chief Saluka. Those gold coins aren't financial aid, but research funds. Do you understand? Research funds. Sui deliberately repeated. A trace of embarrassment flitted across Saluka's simple and honest face. He rubbed his head in embarrassment and lowered his voice. Chairman Su, I won't hide it from you. Although we've conducted many experiments according to the formula you gave us, we haven't been able to successfully produce that alloy steel you mentioned. You see, Sui smiled faintly, thinking that if materials research was so easy to succeed, He wouldn't have such a headache now. He patted Saluka's shoulder and comforted him. It's fine. Researching this thing takes a lot of time. I didn't expect you to be able to research it in a short 2 months. You can just keep experimenting in the future, there's no need to rush. A blush appeared on Saluka's face. The dwarves were all simple and honest, so the more Sui acted like he didn't care, the more they felt apologetic. Camby on the side was anxious, but he knew that it wasn't convenient for him to say anything for the chief. He could only keep scratching his head and sighing. Seeing the reactions of the 2 dwarves, Sui couldn't help smiling. If this matter happened on Earth, the research organization would definitely try their best to avoid it. They would say that there were various difficulties, and they would ask the investors to increase their investment. But for these dwarves, a trivial 500 gold coins was already enough to make them feel apologetic. Actually, the 500 gold coins Sui paid each month was to pull in dwarven craftsmen from the dwarven tribe. Now the 100 dwarves led by Camby were earning more than 500 gold coins for the Frestec Chamber of Commerce each month. Not to mention that these dwarven craftsmen had the most advanced production magic machines, so their value couldn't be measured with simple gold coins. Camby had told Sui that there were several companies that contacted him in secret, saying that they were willing to give him and his subordinates a wage of 20 gold coins each month to work for other companies, but they were all rejected by Camby. Seeing that Saluka and Camby were a bit awkward, Sui thought about it before waving his hand. How about this, Chief Saluka? Bring me to see the results of your research. Perhaps I can give you some suggestions. Chief Saluka kept nodding. Right. Chairman Su, you understand this the best. If you take a look, perhaps you'll have better suggestions. Sui and Camby were led into a giant cave by Saluka and were welcomed by a wave of heat. Taking a closer look, the interior space of the cave, which was more than 10 meters high, was even more than the size of a standard football field. Inside the cave, there were various large and small furnaces built with stones. At this time, more than half of these furnaces were emitting raging flames. The dwarves next to them were constantly adding something into the furnaces. Chairman Su, look, we were experimenting with the formulas you gave us in the beginning, but we never succeeded. Then the clansmen began adding different things into the molten iron, and then there were all kinds of messy. It can be considered the alloy you mentioned, but there wasn't a single one that met the requirements of the alloy you mentioned. Saluka explained with a bit of shame. Oh? All kinds of messy alloys? Where are they? Let me see. Sui asked in an interested voice. Here, they're all piled up here. Saluka led Sui to a corner of the cave and pointed at the iron lumps piled up like a mountain. Sui swept a glance at this iron mountain that was twice as tall as him. His gaze involuntarily fell onto the iron ball that was reflecting specks of fire at the center of the iron mountain. Climbing up and taking down the iron ball for a look, Sui was stunned to discover that apart from some impurities probably due to the failed smelting process, the iron ball's surface was extremely smooth. Moreover, its surface was a bright silver and didn't have the slightest trace of rust that an iron tool should have. Sui weighed the iron ball in his hand and surprisingly discovered that it was still very light. He extended his hand and knocked it, but it didn't produce any hollow sound, proving that it was actually solid inside. Is this thing still iron? Sui was somewhat puzzled. He had Saluka bring over an iron hammer and knocked it down forcefully. Surprisingly, the surface of the iron ball only slightly changed shape and didn't show any signs of cracking. It was evident that the iron ball's hardness was pretty good. Damn, what kind of alloy is this? Its performance is actually so strong? Sui couldn't help but become excited. He asked Saluka, Chief Saluka, how was this iron ball made? Saluka took the iron ball from Sui's hands and flipped it over for a moment. He found a pattern mark at the bottom of the iron ball and waved his hand to call over a dwarf with an extremely long beard. "Muru, you were the one who burned this iron ball, right?" Now Chairman Su is very interested. "Tell me, how did you burn it?" The dwarf named Muru's eyes lit up as he looked at Su-e expectantly. "Chairman Su, is this thing useful?" Su-e nodded. "Although there's no way to test all of its performance right now, it should be useful for now." Muru immediately said happily, "That's great. We've been tossing and turning for so long and experimenting with thousands of formulas, but we've never been able to make that alloy steel you're talking about. We thought it wouldn't work, but to think that there's actually one that's useful now." Saluka glared at him. "Don't talk nonsense. Chairman Su asked you how you made it. Just answer properly." Only then did Muru suppress the excitement in his heart. He took the metal ball and looked at it. He tilted his head and recalled carefully. He slowly replied, "I accidentally poured a jar of silver leaf powder into this thing when I was doing an experiment." Chapter 71. Along with his memories, the dwarf Mur recounted the entire process of crafting the steel ball. While he was talking, Sui kept asking for details. He didn't even let go of how high the temperature of the furnace he used at that time. "This temperature?" Mur scratched his messy hair, a little puzzled. "Chairman Su, you mean how big the furnace fire was, right?" "I can't tell you that, I can only tell you that I burned it as usual, and it wasn't particularly strong." Su-e was a little helpless. Signs didn't have detailed data records of all processes like on Earth, and this was actually a major flaw in the process of industrialization. It looked like he had to find a way to solve this problem. Of course, this problem could only be put aside. The most important thing now was the iron ball in his hand. After asking Muru a few times, Su-e couldn't get a satisfactory answer, and finally had to ask Muru to simply repeat the process from that day. Hearing that Chairman Su of New Flyer was interested in the iron ball Muru had refined, the other dwarves who were conducting smelting experiments also gathered around. In front of everyone, Muru thought for a while and lit a bright furnace fire. The first half was a very normal smelting process, and Su-e didn't see anything special. However, when the molten iron in the furnace began to boil, Muru picked up a can of powder that glowed with silver light and poured it in, and the situation in the furnace changed instantly. As soon as the silver leaf powder was poured in, it immediately merged with the molten iron in the furnace. A moment later, the molten iron that was already boiling due to the high temperature began to boil even more violently, and the originally red molten iron also began to have traces of silver light mixed in. The process of smelting iron was actually quite boring. Saluka was worried that Su-e would be bored at first, but he found that Su-e was staring at the molten iron in the furnace from beginning to end. His eyes almost didn't blink, and his expression was active and focused. He couldn't help but feel puzzled. Why was this Chairman Su so concerned about this strange so-called alloy? When Su-e arrived at the dwarf tribe, it was already afternoon. When the furnace of molten iron was successfully refined, it was already night. During this time, Su-e stayed by the boiler. Other than going to the toilet once, he didn't move at all. In addition, he also took out a notebook and recorded the entire process, as well as the order and quantity of materials used by Muru. After the molten iron cooled down and gradually formed a round ball in the mold, Su-e carefully compared this iron ball with the one he had discovered before. After confirming that there wasn't much difference between the two iron balls, he confirmed that Muru had really restored the smelting process from last time. Seeing that it was getting late, Saluka wanted to invite Su-e back to the tribe for dinner, but he was rejected by Su-e. Having finally discovered a new alloy, Su-e was in a state of excitement. As a mechanical engineer, his enthusiasm for his work was bursting, so he naturally couldn't bear to leave at this time. So Saluka simply asked his tribesmen to bring dinner here. The dwarves ate dinner with Su-Yi while carrying out various tests on the iron ball according to Su-Yi's request. After a series of tests, Su-Yi finally determined that this alloy, which had undergone a strange change due to the addition of silver leaf powder, might be slightly inferior in terms of hardness, but in terms of ductility and plasticity, it was very close to the ordinary aluminum alloys on Earth. It was much stronger than the pig iron commonly refined in signs. More importantly, the alloy that had been mixed with silver leaf powder had been piled up in the corner for nearly 2 months, but there wasn't even a trace of rust. It didn't even have to be treated with any rust prevention, and it automatically had the properties of stainless steel. Su-Yi held the iron ball that was a bit deformed from the various tests, and his heart was filled with excitement. The reason why he came to the dwarven tribe this time was because Chief Saluka had contacted the dwarves of the other tribes. He wanted to bring some dwarves back to the magic machine workshop, but he never thought that he wouldn't meet the dwarves he expected. Instead, he unexpectedly found this new alloy. Even if it hadn't been appraised yet, Su-Yi was certain that this new alloy that he had named the silver leaf alloy for now was hard to use in large-scale magic machines because of its hardness, but it would definitely have many uses in light household magic machines. For example, the magic rice cooker that New Flyer had been promoting recently. If they used this alloy, it would greatly reduce the weight of the magic rice cooker. Just based on this, it would definitely make the magic rice cooker even more popular. After the various tests of the silver leaf alloy were completed, Su-Yi immediately gave Chief Saluka a request. He hoped that he and the dwarves of the tribe would do more tests on the silver leaf alloy. For example, changing the amount of silver leaf powder added, changing the temperature of the flames, adding in some other materials. At the same time, he gave Muru 20 gold coins in the name of the Frestek Chamber of Commerce as a reward for inventing a new alloy. With Su-Yi's understanding of material experiments from Earth, he believed that any small change could change the final properties of the alloy. This silver leaf alloy had appeared because of an accident, so if there were more accidents like this, he would definitely support it. Other than this silver leaf alloy, Su-Yi looked through the pile of iron balls again and found another iron ball that was a bit special. Although this iron ball wasn't as conspicuous as the silver leaf alloy and its properties weren't that outstanding, after testing it, Su-Yi was surprised to find that this iron ball's hardness and wear resistance far surpassed normal iron. For heavy machines, especially large-scale lathes, this kind of alloy was very important. Su-Yi gave Chief Saluka another request, letting the dwarves of the tribe conduct further research on this alloy. This time, Chief Saluka didn't agree as easily as before, rather he revealed a difficult look. Chairman Su, we don't have enough tribesmen in the tribe right now. If you didn't pull away Camby's group, there wouldn't be a problem in conducting these two kinds of research at the same time. But as you can see, the tribesmen who can do these things are all here and there are only a few of them. I'm afraid we can't complete your request. Su-Yi looked around and found that Chief Saluka wasn't exaggerating. Ever since he had dragged Kanbai and his 100 dwarves away from the tribe, the remaining dwarves in the tribe were mostly the elderly, the weak, the women and the children. Only a dozen dwarves were still capable of high-intensity smelting. How about this, Chief Saluka? Isn't the Angola tribe coming to negotiate with me tomorrow? When the time comes, I'll discuss this matter with them. It'll be best if I can convince them to accept one of the alloy research projects. Of course, it'll be best if Chief Saluka can contact more of our dwarven brothers. Right now, I'm in urgent need of manpower, mainly qualified dwarven craftsmen. I'll take as many as you can. Su-Yi said after some thought. Saluka didn't immediately agree. Instead, he frowned and looked at Su-Yi. Chairman Su, do you intend to fill your factory with dwarves? Su-Yi was startled. Of course not. Right now, there are more humans in my factory. Saluka shook his head. Chairman Su, I think I have to remind you that, if there are too many of us dwarves in your factory, I'm afraid there will be problems. Sui was somewhat puzzled. Problems? What problems can there be? I'm just letting my dwarven brothers work in my factory. What problems can there be? Siluka sighed. Chairman Su, I know you have good intentions, but not all of you humans are like you. More importantly, your human leaders might not think the same way. It's fine if a few of us dwarves appear in your human society. But if a large number of dwarves appear together, I'm afraid it'll bring trouble to you and us dwarves. Sui couldn't help but frown. The war between races happened thousands of years ago. Are you still worried about this, Chief Siluka? Chief Siluka waved his hand. Another war between races is impossible. I'm only worried it'll arouse the vigilance of your human leaders. When that time comes, my dwarven brothers won't be able to bring you any benefits. Instead, they'll bring you trouble. Sui muttered to himself for a moment. In the end, he had to admit that Chief Siluka was right. Although the signs were currently led by humans and the other races didn't have the capital to contend with them, the racial divide still existed. Sui recruiting 100 or a few hundred dwarves to work for him wasn't a problem, but if he recruited 1,000 or even a few thousand dwarves, it was very likely to arouse the vigilance of the big shots in the Lampari kingdom. With so many people of other races under his command, would he want to rebel? Sigh, it seems that no matter which world it is, business can't be completely free from political factors. Sui sighed inwardly. After thinking for a bit, he nodded to Chief Siluka. Many thanks for your reminder, Chief. I'll pay attention to this problem. But I don't think there'll be any problems in this area at this stage. Also, my company really does lack manpower, so I'll have to ask you to pay more attention to this. If it really doesn't work, I can't say that I'm completely unprepared. Chief Siluka lightly nodded his head. Good. Chairman Su, you're a smart human. I believe you'll have a solution. As for the dwarven brothers of the other tribes, there's no need to worry. At this point, Chief Siluka revealed a bitter smile and a helpless expression. Their current lives aren't much better than our tribes before. Chapter 72. The Angola Dwarf Tribe was less than 100 kilometers away from the Norma Dwarf tribe led by Chief Siluka. Upon receiving the news that Sui had arrived, the representatives of the Angola Dwarf tribe arrived early the next morning. To Sui's surprise, the leader of the representatives turned out to be Chief Monto of the Angola Dwarf tribe. The two representatives next to Chief Monto were also the two most respected elders of the Angola tribe. Seeing this lineup, Sui naturally knew that the Angola tribe attached great importance to this negotiation, so he became even more cautious. However, the process of the negotiation was even more unexpected. The whole negotiation process was very simple. After Sui proposed the conditions that he had prepared long ago to Chief Monto and the two elders, the three of them showed undisguised excitement and agreed almost without thinking. This made Sui instantly have the illusion that he must have made the conditions too good. However, this condition was proposed by Sui in reference to the treatment that he had proposed to Chief Siluka. Other than promising to build a road from here to the Angola tribe, there were no other preferential conditions. This was actually Sui completely using the hearts of humans to measure the hearts of the dwarves. The dwarves were a very honest and even straightforward race, and their way of doing things was very different from humans. Sui inferred based on human negotiations and thought that Chief Monto would very likely bargain, and then both sides would finally negotiate successfully after a while. Who knew that Chief Monto and the two elders would be so satisfied with this condition that they did not even have the thought of bargaining? Of course, there was a reason why Chief Monto and the two elders agreed so readily. The Angola tribe was not far from here, and as dwarven brothers of the same tribe, the two sides would naturally have frequent contact, so they were very familiar with the situation of the Norma tribe. Previously, the Norma tribe and the Angola tribe were fellow sufferers, and the living conditions of both sides were not very good. However, ever since a human came over 2 months ago, the dwarves of the Angola tribe found that the living conditions of the dwarves of the Norma tribe had suddenly improved. Originally, because the 100-strong dwarves of the Norma tribe were taken away by Sui, the dwarves of the Angola tribe thought that the Norma tribe could not hold on anymore and finally decided to sell their brothers in the tribe to the humans to be their cattle and horses, but they found that this was not the case at all. From what he had heard, the dwarves who had been taken away were now working in human factories. Not only did they eat well and sleep well, but they also received as much as 8 gold coins a month. More importantly, there was even good wine to drink in the factory, and it was the Serd Manor's precious wine. The dwarves of the Angola tribe could not sit still as they watched their compatriots of the Norma tribe gradually break free from poverty. Not only did they have enough food, but they also had brand new clothes. Even the houses of the tribe had been renovated. After learning that all these changes were because of the human called Sui, Chief Monto had the idea of meeting Sui. If this human called Sui could help the Angola tribe like he had helped the Norma tribe and change the lives of the people of the tribe, then he would be considered to have played a real role as the chief. Who knew that before Chief Monto could make up his mind, Saluka would come knocking on his door and straightforwardly mention Sui's request. Hearing that Sui wanted to recruit a group of dwarven craftsmen, Chief Monto did not even think about it and instantly agreed. Compared to the Norma tribe, the Angola tribe was still a little larger. The total population was almost twice that of the Norma tribe. The Norma tribe could provide 100 dwarven craftsmen, but the Angola tribe could provide 200. Chief Monto even gritted his teeth and directly proposed to Sui that he could provide 300 adult tribesmen to work in the factories of the new flyer. Patriarch Saluka was shocked. "Monto, are you crazy? How many adult tribesmen do you have in your tribe? If you let 300 people leave the tribe in one go, what will happen to the tribe's lives in the future?" Chief Monto and the 2 elders looked at each other and laughed. "No problem. It's not like the tribesmen who stay in the tribe can't be moved. At worst, they'll have to work a little harder. Besides, Chairman Su has just talked to us about the remuneration for the tribesmen to work in the factories. As long as we persist for a while and wait for the tribesmen to receive their remuneration, things will naturally ease a lot. Don't you think so, Chairman Su?" Sui smiled and nodded. "Rest assured, Chief Monto. The new flyer and the dwarves have a happy cooperation. We will never delay the payment. However, what Chief Saluka said just now is very reasonable. If you send 300 people in one go, the life of the tribe will definitely be greatly affected." Seeing that Sui was about to refuse, Chief Monto immediately waved his hand anxiously. "No, no, no, it won't be a problem. Really, it won't be a problem. I know the situation in the tribe better than you, Chairman Su. Even if we send 300 people away, it won't be a problem." Sui couldn't help but sigh in his heart when he saw the apprehension on the faces of Chief Monto and the 2 elders. The last time he came to the Norma tribe with Master Lanus to discuss with Chief Saluka, he had already discovered that the living conditions of the dwarves were extremely poor. This caused Chief Saluka to be easily moved by Sui's promise of 500 gold coins. Now, judging from the reactions of Chief Monto and the 2 elders, he was afraid that this wasn't just a problem of the Norma tribe. It was a difficult situation that all the dwarves were facing. "Chief Monto, don't worry. Listen to me," Sui said slowly. "Actually, I have other considerations. Although our Chamber of Commerce is in urgent need of a large number of outstanding dwarven craftsmen to help complete the work, if we accept 300 dwarves in one go, I'm afraid it will be difficult for our Chamber of Commerce to arrange it with our current ability. For the time being, we can only arrange for about 100. "Only 100? That's too little. Patriarch Monto and the two elders immediately looked disappointed. Let me finish. Su-yi smiled and continued. In addition to these 100 dwarven craftsmen who will be directly employed by our Chamber of Commerce's subordinate factories, I also need to hire a group of dwarven craftsmen who are more experienced in smelting to conduct material research. I wonder if Chief Monto is interested in this? Material research? What's that? Patriarch Monto and the two elders looked confused. Su-yi glanced at Chief Saluka, who immediately understood. He coughed softly and began to explain to the three of them. After a full half an hour, Chief Monto and the two elders finally showed an expression of sudden realization. So, this material research is to constantly experiment with methods of smelting iron? Chief Monto asked. That's the general idea. Of course, there will be more detailed requirements. Su-yi nodded. Chief Monto thought for a moment and asked, Chairman Su, do you mean that you want our tribesmen to help New Flyer complete this material research like our dwarven brothers here? Yes. Material research needs to go through a lot of experiment. Although Chief Saluka has some people here, I think it's far from enough. That's why I want to find some dwarven brothers to help complete this research. I wonder if Chief Monto is interested? Chief Monto asked with a frown, but this thing, what benefits can it bring to our tribe? Su-yi smiled faintly. He thought that it would be a waste of time to explain the value of grasping the top research results in the signs, so he straightforwardly extended a slap. If you research any results that I approve, the reward will be 500 gold coins. 500 gold coins! Chief Monto and the two elders' eyes shrank, their faces full of shock. When they were discussing the pay for their tribesmen to work in New Flyer with Su-yi, it was only 8 gold coins a month. Although there were many people, the amount wasn't that big, so it didn't sound like anything special. Now that Su-yi had opened his mouth and offered 500 gold coins, the three dwarves were immediately shocked. Chief Monto couldn't help but glance at Chief Saluka next to him. His gaze fell on Chief Saluka's luxurious linen clothes that were obviously made by a high-level human tailor, and a trace of envy appeared in his eyes. This Saluka had only been wearing tattered linen clothes when he saw him 3 months ago, but now he could change into such beautiful clothes. It was obvious that this was a change brought about by the cooperation with this human merchant in front of him. When he thought about the shocking changes he saw along the way into the Norma tribe, Chief Monto immediately made up his mind and nodded vigorously at Su-yi. Good. It's settled then. Su-yi immediately showed a sincere smile and shook hands with Chief Monto. In fact, while Chief Monto was excited by the large amount of remuneration Su-yi had agreed to, Su-yi himself was also very excited. This trip to the dwarf tribe could be said to be a bountiful harvest. Not only did they temporarily solve the increasingly serious manpower problem, but they also unexpectedly made a major breakthrough in material research. If the dwarves of the Angola tribe could successfully research several new alloys like Muru's dwarves, then it would be of great help to Su-yi's plan to promote the industrialization of signs. In addition, Su-yi had also established a good relationship with the dwarves through his contact with these two dwarven tribes. Although there weren't many dwarves in signs at present, they still had the most high-level craftsmen. Perhaps this wouldn't have much of an impact on other humans, but for Su-yi this was a huge fortune. If he could completely grasp this wealth in his hands, Su-yi's confidence would naturally be much greater. Chapter 73. Perhaps because they had witnessed the changes in the Norma tribe with their own eyes, Patriarch Monto and the two elders were full of hope for cooperation with Su-yi. Thus, the entire negotiation, oh no, it could be considered an ordinary negotiation, proceeded very smoothly. In just a short day, Su-yi and Patriarch Monto had discussed and settled almost all the details. As for the 100 dwarven craftsmen provided by the Angola tribe, Su-yi gave them the same treatment as Kanbai and the other dwarves, a salary of 8 gold coins a month. However, in terms of other benefits it was slightly worse. This was because Kanbai and the other dwarves had already worked in the new flyer for 2 months and were now skilled workers. On the other hand, the Angola tribe's dwarves were newcomers, and naturally couldn't receive the same treatment. Patriarch Monto and the 2 elders didn't have any objections to this. After all, a salary of 8 gold coins a month was enough to satisfy them. What's more, Su-yi had also promised to build a material laboratory in the Angola tribe. Not only would he provide them with a fixed research fund of 100 gold coins a month, they would also receive a reward of 500 gold coins as long as they produced a result that was ultimately used by the new flyer. For the Angola tribe that had been impoverished for a long time, whether it was the fixed salary of 8 gold coins a month for working in the new flyer, or the 500 gold coins for research results, it was like a sweet rain after a long drought. It made them feel incomparably satisfied, so why would they ask for more at this time? The dwarves were honest and straightforward to begin with, and now they felt that Su-yi's conditions were simply to save them. Hence, Patriarch Monto and the 2 elders pulled Su-yi to the Angola tribe as a guest, no matter what, to express their gratitude. Su-yi couldn't resist their enthusiasm, and could only follow them to the Angola tribe under the accompaniment of Patriarch Saluka and Kanbai. Probably because their population was double that of the Norma tribe, the dwarves of the Angola tribe lived in slightly better conditions compared to the Norma tribe. However, there was a limit to it, and they were still at the stage of barely not starving to death. But compared to the current Norma tribe, the difference was like heaven and earth. After walking around the Angola tribe, Su-yi saw a little dwarf boy happily eating a piece of candy he brought with him. Finally, he couldn't help but ask Saluka, "I'm curious. Why is life so difficult for the dwarves? Dwarves are obviously so hard-working, can endure hardships, and have powerful forging skills. It stands to reason that they shouldn't have been living such a life all the time." Chief Saluka and Chief Monto looked at each other and smiled bitterly at the same time. After a long while, Patriarch Saluka sighed and said, "Chairman Su, I should be asking you humans this question." Su-yi looked curiously at Patriarch Saluka. "Why? It's very simple. Ever since the racial war thousands of years ago, the humans had won a great victory. Following that, they had taken over all the good places in the signs. Whether it is us dwarves, the beastmen, or the halflings, goblins, and other races that haven't been seen in a long time, they can only live in barren lands and can't obtain enough food at all. If we want to obtain food from the humans, we have to pay a very high price. Chairman Su, you come from Banta City. Let me ask you, how much does a pound of wheat sell for in Banta City?" Su-yi was surprised. After thinking about it, he replied, "If I remember correctly, the current price should be 14 silver coins per pound." "Look, it's only 14 silver coins for half a kilogram." Patriarch Saluka snorted, his voice filled with dissatisfaction. Chief Saluka was very dissatisfied. "Do you know how much you humans sell a pound of wheat to us for?" Su-yi knit his brows. There was no need to ask. He knew that this price was very high. As expected, Chief Saluka stretched out a thick finger. "An entire gold coin. You can only buy a pound of wheat. Chairman Su, do you know? We dwarves eat more than you humans. Each person can eat half a pound of wheat in a single meal. This means that a single gold coin is only enough for us dwarves to eat for a single day." When he finished speaking, Chief Saluka's voice had a trace of anger. It was clear that he was already filled with anger from the high price the humans were selling wheat for. "The only hobby we dwarves have is wine, but making wine requires even more wheat. In order to save the wheat that we obtained with great difficulty from the humans, our Norma tribe has already banned wine making. Chairman Su, do you know that the last time you came to our tribe, it was the first time I drank wine in 2 years?" Su-yi couldn't help revealing a bitter smile. He thought that for the dwarves who loved wine like their lives, not being able to drink for 2 years was indeed a very painful matter. It was no wonder that when Sui promised Camby that he would give the dwarves wine from the Sachi Manor as a reward, the dwarves' enthusiasm for work had been incomparably high. Thinking of this, Sui felt a bit strange. That's not right, Chief Saluka. According to what you said, what are you going to use to earn gold coins? Or what are you going to use to exchange for food? Very simple, use ores to exchange. Chief Saluka casually pointed at the tall mountain outside the Angola tribe. There are many iron ores in that mountain, as well as magic crystal ores. The humans felt that this place was too far away and it wasn't worth it to mine, so they didn't care. Therefore, we dwarves relied on collecting these iron ores and magic crystals to sell to the humans in exchange for food. If I didn't guess wrong, the price they paid for the iron ores and magic crystals must be very low, right? Sui asked in a low voice. It is very low, but what can we do? Chief Saluka sighed. It's also because the humans felt that it wasn't worth it to mine these ores, so they didn't care. If the humans took a fancy to these ores one day and sent troops to drive us away, then we really wouldn't know how to continue living. Now we have to thank the humans for at least leaving us a way out. Saying this, Chief Saluka gave a self-deprecating laugh. Sui was a bit speechless as he looked at Chief Monto on the side. Chief Monto also had a bitter smile as he nodded to Sui and said, although our tribe's situation was a bit better than the Norma tribe, it was more or less the same. In the end, we are not humans, and humans are the rulers of the signs. Seeing the expressions on the faces of the two chiefs, Sui couldn't help feeling a bit awkward. As a human, he was actually discussing the oppression of the dwarves by humans with 2 dwarves here. It really made him feel a bit uncomfortable. But the information revealed in Chief Saluka's words just now caught his attention. Looking up at the tall mountain for a while, Sui suddenly asked, Chief Saluka, are you dwarves not only good at forging, but also good at mining? That's right. We dwarves don't have any other specialties, but we are indeed very talented in mining ores. The ores that you humans spend a day mining may not be as much as the ores that we dwarves can mine in the time it takes to eat a meal. Chief Saluka replied. That still doesn't make sense. Since the dwarves are so capable, why didn't the Human Chamber of Commerce hire you dwarves to mine? Sui asked again. There used to be. But in the past, the Human Chamber of Commerce offered us dwarven brothers very low wages. Of course, the most important thing was that the humans always discriminated against us. It was easy to be bullied in the human mines, so it was better to come back and work on our own. After a long time, no dwarven brothers are willing to go out and work for the humans. Chief Saluka glanced at Sui and continued, to be honest, Chairman Su, if it wasn't for the fact that I had no other choice last time, I wouldn't have agreed to let you take my 100 brothers away. Sui nodded. Master Lanus had already mentioned this point to him last time. Of course. Afterwards, Kanbai and those brothers said that they were living very well in your new flyer. Chairman Su not only let them eat and sleep well, but also let them drink wine. I gradually felt relieved. Chief Saluka changed to a tone of praise. I have to say, Chairman Su, you are not the same as other humans. You don't have any prejudice against us dwarves. Sui shrugged. I'll say something you might not like to hear, but I am a pure human merchant. I only care about whether the other party can bring me benefits, and I don't care about the other party's race. Chief Saluka and Chief Monto laughed heartily at the same time. Chief Saluka even stood on tiptoe and patted Sui's shoulder with difficulty, saying, If all humans were as straightforward as you, Chairman Su, the lives of us dwarves would be much better. Sui couldn't help but roll his eyes. He didn't expect that his words would be exchanged for such a straightforward evaluation. Glancing at the distant mountain, Sui said, Chief Saluka, since you are not as good at mining as the dwarves, you must be very good at prospecting for ore veins, right? Yes. If we dwarves are second in prospecting for ore veins, no race in the signs would dare to say they are first, Chief Saluka said with a face full of pride. That's good. I just happen to have an idea. I need you to find a few experts who are good at prospecting for ore veins, Sui said. No problem. Chief Monto beat Chief Saluka to the side and patted his chest hard. When it comes to prospecting for ore veins, our Angola tribe has many. Let's not talk about others, I am an expert myself. Sui shook his head with a faint smile. Of course there's no need for Chief Monto to personally do it. I hope that Chief Saluka and Chief Monto can each pick 5 people from your tribe and then follow my instructions to explore all the places in the Lampari Kingdom. It would be best if they could find all the ore veins. What do the 2 of you think about this? All the places in the Lampari Kingdom? The 2 chiefs looked at each other and knit their brows at the same time. This might be a bit difficult, but it isn't impossible. It's just that it will take a bit longer. Give me an estimate, how long will it take? Sui kept asking. If it's just prospecting for ore veins and magic crystals, our tribe is very experienced. With a total of 10 people, I think it'll take less than half a year, Chief Monto said. But if it includes other veins, it's hard to say. Sui was instantly filled with joy. Less than half a year? That's great. Very good, it's decided like this. Chief Saluka, Chief Monto, you 2 pick 5 dwarves who are the most experienced in prospecting and tell them that not only will our new flyer provide them with enough supplies, after the prospecting, we will also give each of them 100 gold coins as a reward. 100 gold coins? That's too much. As soon as Suyi's voice fell, the 2 chiefs quickly waved their hands. This is just a small matter, there's no need for a reward, not to mention 100 gold coins. The Dwarven brothers have worked hard, of course we need to pay them. Then 100 gold coins is too much. When the 3 of them were arguing, an Angola tribe dwarf quickly came in front of Chief Monto and loudly said, Chief, the elven guests are here again. Chapter 74. The 3 of them were stunned, especially Sui, whose eyes widened in surprise. Elves? It was actually an elf. Sui had already transmigrated to the Signs continent for 3 years, which wasn't considered short, but in these 3 years, he had seen dwarves in human cities and beastmen at construction sites, but he hadn't seen a single elf. According to legend, more than 3,000 years ago, the elves were still the rulers of the Signs, but then the humans quickly rose and finally drove the elves off the throne through racial wars, and they themselves became the rulers of the Signs. Since then, the elves had almost disappeared from this continent. Even if humans went to the forests where the elves lived, they would not see an elf. Many times, the elves had even become a legend, and many people guessed that the elves had become extinct. But now, in this dwarf tribe, Sui actually saw an elf. From the moment Patriarch Monto ordered the dwarf to lead the elf guests in, Sui could not help but stretch his neck and stare at the entrance of the Angola tribe, his eyes almost unblinking. A moment later, a slender elf, who was as tall as 2 dwarves and almost as tall as Sui, slowly walked in under the lead of the dwarf. Suyi's eyes swept over the elf in an instant, and then he could not help but secretly praise her in his heart. A pair of pointed long ears showed her identity as an elf, and her towering chest showed that she was a female elf. A pair of big blue eyes like 2 springs, and soft facial features with a slightly firm face revealed a trace of heroic spirit in her gentle appearance. Coupled with her exposed snow-white but perfectly proportioned calves, she would instantly make people's eyes light up. Sui had long heard that the elves were all handsome men and beautiful women. At first, he did not believe it, but now that he saw this beautiful elf, he chose to believe it without hesitation. This female elf spotted Sui from afar, who stood out among the dwarves like a crane among a flock of chickens. After coming over, she couldn't help but size up Sui with a curious look. However, the elves had always paid attention to etiquette. Even though she was very curious about Sui, the female elf still bowed to Chief Monto before saying, "Greetings, esteemed Chief Monto. May the glory of Elune shine upon you forever." Patriarch Monto only nodded slightly in return and said in a deep voice, "Hello, may your feet always stand in Messiah's palm." This was the first time Sui had seen such a simple question and answer. He couldn't help but look at the female elf even more curiously. Sure enough, it was just as the rumors said. Not only were the elves beautiful in appearance, but their temperaments were also superb. This female elf had fair skin, a tall and slender figure, and her temperament was even more outstanding. Although her expression was calm, she naturally exuded a sense of aloofness, making people feel that she was unapproachable, but at the same time, they couldn't help but want to get closer to her. After the female elf and Chief Monto exchanged greetings, she immediately said, "Esteemed Chief Monto, may I ask what is the result of your consideration of the matter from last time? Our tribe's current situation is very bad, so I hope that you can agree to my request and help us. Our entire tribe will definitely remember your help this time." Although her voice was still clear and pleasant to the ear, even Sui, who didn't understand the matter she was talking about, could hear the worry that couldn't be hidden in her voice. It could be seen that when she said, "The tribe's situation is very bad," it was not empty words. Chief Monto revealed a difficult expression, this. "Dear young Miss Agnes, although I value the long-term friendship between us dwarves and elves and hope that I can help you solve this problem, you can also see that our tribe is also facing many problems. Moreover, there will be a large group of strong clansmen leaving soon, so I'm afraid we won't be able to take out enough people to help you. How about you go to the other dwarven tribes and ask?" Hearing Chief Monto's reply, the female elf Agnes revealed a look of disappointment, but it wasn't obvious. "All right, many thanks to Chief Monto for being willing to listen to my request. I hope that you will always be healthy under Elune's glory." After throwing down these words, the female elf Agnes turned to leave. Sui on the side stared at her with wide eyes. Although he had already heard that the elves were a proud race that didn't know how to be flexible, he never thought that this female elf would just run over to say a few words and immediately leave after being rejected. This fellow, did she not know how to talk at all? With her attitude, it would be strange if she could get anything done. If all the elves were like her, then it wouldn't be strange at all for the elves to be chased down from their signs thrown by the humans. Sui had all kinds of thoughts in his mind. He suddenly took 2 steps forward and blocked in front of Agnes. Agnes stopped and looked at Sui, who had suddenly appeared in front of her with a surprised look on her face. "Human, do you need something?" Sui revealed what he thought was the friendliest smile and said with a smile, "Beautiful elven miss, can I ask, what kind of help do you and your tribe need? Perhaps I can help you with this." Agnes slightly knit her 2 beautiful eyebrows and seriously looked at Sui for a while before slowly shaking her head. "Sorry, I don't believe in humans." After saying this, she didn't even say a word of farewell and wanted to go around Sui. Sui never thought that this fellow would be so straightforward with him and not be polite at all. After being stunned for a bit, he finally reacted. When he wanted to stop Agnes again, he saw a green light flash from her body and she disappeared from the gates of the Angola tribe. Elven magic, shadow concealment technique. Chief Saluka came to Suyi's side and looked in the direction Agnes disappeared in as he said, "Unless your magic is much stronger than hers, you won't be able to find her, let alone catch up to her." Chief Monto also walked over and seriously said to Sui, "Chairman Su, the elves are very hard to approach. I suggest you give up on chasing her." Seeing the strange expressions on the faces of the 2 chiefs, Sui knew that they must have misunderstood something, but he was too lazy to explain. He asked Chief Monto, Chief Monto. She just said that she has something to ask you for help with and that her tribe's situation is not good. Do you know what kind of problem they've encountered? This is already her third time coming. The first 2 times I said I would consider it, but because I already promised to send 100 clansmen to your factory, I could only reject her. Chief Monto said. As for the problem their tribe is facing, it is indeed very bad. Her tribe lives in the falling rain forest about 200 kilometers away from here. Originally, there was a river that passed through the falling rain forest and provided all the water for her tribe. However, recently, the flow of the river has started to decrease and is even close to drying up, causing the tribe's life to suddenly become difficult. Oh? There is something like this? What is the reason for this? Sui curiously asked. Their tribe has also investigated it. The reason for this change in the river seems to be because there is more sand at the bottom of the river, causing a portion of the river upstream to change its course. Naturally, the amount of water flowing downstream to their tribe has decreased. Then for them to ask for your help, could it be that they want you dwarves to help them drain the sand from the river? Chief Monto shook his head and said with a bitter smile, although the elves' magic isn't bad, their stamina is average. If they want to carry out this kind of large project, they can only ask us dwarves for help. But how could we spare any manpower to help them, so we could only reject them? Chief Saluka on the side gave a cold snort. There's nothing we can help these elves with. Even if we use all our strength to help them solve their problem, they will only coldly say a few words of thanks. They won't even give us a few sips of wine, so what's the point of helping them? Chief Monto said with a sigh. That's right, if we can live on our own, then on account of our old friends, helping them isn't a big deal. But right now we can't even take care of our own clansmen, so how could we take care of them? Sui didn't pay attention to the 2 chiefs complaining about what the elves did wrong before, but rather he stared in the direction Agnes disappeared in with a frown. The elves meeting a problem might not be related to other people, but it was not the same for Sui. He could keenly feel that this was a good chance for him to come into contact with the elves. It was like what Sui had said in front of the 2 chiefs. As a qualified human merchant, Sui would consider what benefits the other side could bring him when looking at people and wouldn't care about their race. No matter how many problems the elves had, Sui knew that they had many advantages that other races didn't have, so naturally there would be enough benefits for him to explore. If he could use this elven crisis to get closer to the elves, perhaps Sui and New Flyer would be able to obtain great benefits in the future. Thinking of this, Sui took out the notebook he carried with him and drew a few pictures on a page. Then he wrote a large note beside the picture and finally tore it off for Chief Monto. Chief Monto, since that elf came here 3 times, I think you should have some understanding of her tribe, right? Sui asked. I know a bit. Chief Monto was confused as he took the paper Sui handed him. He looked over it and found that he couldn't understand it. What is this? This is the solution I designed to deal with the diversion of their tribe's river upstream. Show it to her or her tribe, they should understand. Is that so? Chief Monto and Chief Saluka gathered together and seriously looked at the picture on the paper. They still couldn't understand it, so they could only give up. But Sui, why are you thinking of a way to help them? That Agnes' attitude towards you just now wasn't good. Sui laughed. I believe that after she sees this, her attitude towards me will definitely change. PS1. Thank you for reading 140709123141856, Ting Yu, Fu Xing, and Fanalter for their tip. PS2. In order to make the data look good, I'm asking for more recommendation vote. PS3. Some people in the book review section have pointed out several bugs in the book, so I'm very grateful and accept them all. There are many bugs that I didn't consider carefully enough, so I'll pay more attention in the future. I also hope that everyone can point them out if they find them. PS4. As for the currency problem, I'll explain it a bit. The exchange rate for gold, silver, and copper coins is 100. This is the common exchange rate for many magic continent backgrounds, so I'm not prepared to open a new furnace. As for purchasing power, I set a silver coin to be the same as a small coin, you all understand. So a monthly wage of 30 gold coins is considered a high wage in Banta City with a low standard of living. When describing the lives of the farmers and dwarves, in order to show that their lives are difficult, I used very low numbers. After being reminded by my friends, I found that there are some problems, so I'll reconsider it and change it when I have time. Chapter 75. After visiting the Angola tribe, Sui stayed for another half a day. He gave some details to Chief Saluka and Chief Monto about the material research work he would be giving them before bidding farewell. Cambi didn't leave with him and stayed behind. Once Patriarch Monto had made arrangements for the 100 dwarves, Kanbai led them over. As for Sui, of course he had to return to Banta City to make some arrangements first. Because the road from the Norma tribe to the main road had been fixed, this trip didn't take an entire day like before. However, Sui set off from the Norma tribe at noon, and when he returned to Banta City, it was already nighttime. Even if it was a bit late, Sui still went to the factory outside the city. Although night had fallen, the two workshops were still brightly lit. Obviously, they were working overtime. During this time, working overtime had become the norm in these two workshops. The magic machine workshop, the dwarves were working hard because of the large amounts of agricultural magic machines that the nobles had ordered. The household magic machine workshop, led by Heinz, was also working hard because of the popularity of the magic rice cooker. Actually, there were some interesting twists and turns in the magic rice cooker. When Sui first designed the magic rice cooker, it was just a flash of inspiration in his mind, so he didn't consider everything at first. When the magic rice cooker was actually made, he found a serious problem. It was that the main source of food around Banta City was wheat, so naturally the pasta made from wheat was the staple food of Banta City and Banta City. The magic rice cooker's current function was very simple. It could only be used to cook rice, but it couldn't be used to make pasta. So when it was released, Sui didn't expect it to be that popular in Banta City. After finding this problem, Sui immediately changed his sales strategy. He sold the magic rice cooker to the surrounding cities, especially Karma City that was famous for its rice production. This change in strategy was very appropriate. After seeing how fast and convenient the magic rice cooker was, large amounts of orders immediately flew to the new flyer. Just in Karma City alone, the companies that cooperated with the new flyer because of the magic fan had placed orders for over 7,000 units. Adding in the orders from the other cities and a part of the demand from Banta City, the household magic machine workshop's current task was to make 16,000 magic rice cookers in a single month. Even if the magic rice cooker was much easier to make compared to the magic fan because it was much faster, it was still a very heavy task. However, for a guy like Heinz who only knew how to worry about not having a job, this was a very happy thing. During this time, Heinz stayed in the workshop all day, even going to sleep in the workshop at night. He rarely came back to Banta City, which made Heinz's wife come looking for him several times and complain to Sui. But Heinz would be very excited every time he saw the flourishing work in the workshop, so how could he listen to other people's advice? Sui found that it had no effect after trying to persuade him twice, so he could only let him do as he pleased. Heinz, as the factory manager, worked this hard, so naturally the workers under him wouldn't slack off at all. There was no need to mention the 100 slaves borrowed from Viscount Leslie, as well as the 100 workers they recruited later. All worked hard every day. No matter when you entered the workshop, you would always see a scene of work in full swing. Of course, the reason why the workers worked this hard was because Sue had promised them through Hines that they would be paid for working overtime. This was actually a very novel move. For these workers, they didn't have the concept of working overtime before. In their minds, since they came to work here, they had to do whatever the boss told them to do, otherwise they wouldn't be paid. But the new flyer's method had opened their eyes. Because the magic rice cooker hadn't sold yet, the workshop's work wasn't that heavy, so they strictly worked 8 hours a day. These workers were very confused at that time. They clearly had many things to do, so why did they have to rest for so long each day? Many workers were even a bit unsettled when they were confused. This kind of strange company, could it be that there was a problem? After a while, as the magic rice cooker was sold in the surrounding cities, large amounts of orders came in. When Hines announced that he would be working overtime, the workers finally let go of the worry in their hearts. They felt that this Frestec Chamber of Commerce was no different from the other companies. But at this time, Hines announced that they would be paid for working overtime, which made the workers even more confused. What kind of thing was overtime pay? Didn't we already agree on our salaries? Could it be that the company would give us extra money just for doing the work we should do? Of course, being able to get extra money was a good thing. Moreover, this overtime pay wasn't small. If it was calculated, it was even more worth it than working a normal day. So not only did the workers not have any resistance to working overtime, rather they all looked forward to working overtime. When it was time to work overtime every night, Hines found that even if the workers were tired from working all day, they were even more enthusiastic when they worked overtime. Hines was very confused by this situation, but Sue felt that it was very normal. These systems were copied from Earth without any changes. Compared to the Signs continent, Earth's systems were without a doubt much more advanced and reasonable. In terms of increasing the enthusiasm of the workers, compared to Signs that treated the workers like cattle, there was no doubt that New Flyer's system was much better. The most obvious example was that the household magic machine workshop's efficiency was very high and there were very few problems. It meant that the workers were very focused when working and were completely invested in it. According to the current progress, it shouldn't be a problem to complete the orders. When Sue walked into the household magic machine workshop, Hines was inspecting the final assembly of the magic rice cooker with a very focused look. Only when Sue came to his side and patted his shoulder did he react. "You're back." Perhaps it was because he had been shouting in the workshop for too long, but Hines's voice was a bit hoarse. "How did it go?" "It's done. If nothing unexpected happens, there will be 100 dwarves coming with Camby in a week." "You?" Sue suddenly stopped. He wanted to have Hines prepare a place for the 100 dwarves, but seeing Hines's red eyes, he couldn't say anything. "What's wrong with me?" Seeing that Sue suddenly stopped talking, Hines asked in a confused voice. "Nothing." Sue shook his head. He looked around the workshop before patting Hines's shoulder and saying with a sigh, "It's been hard on you. With such a large production, you must be tired, right? Hines, I urge you to pay attention to your rest and leave the matters of the workshop to Alex. If you really tire yourself out, Rhea will definitely scold me to death." Hines gave a cold snort. What does she know? Just obediently stay at home and take care of the children. Why would she care so much? Sue revealed a faint smile. Based on Rhea's attitude towards Hines's position in the family wasn't high before. Now that Hines had earned more money after investing in New Flyer, his back was much straighter when facing Rhea. "No matter what, pay attention to your body. Our company has too few management talents, and without you, the factory might not be able to support itself." This was what Hines liked to hear the most. He immediately stood up and patted his chest as he said in a clear voice, "Relax, my body is very good, there won't be any problems. But you're right, my work is very important, so I will pay attention to my body." "That's good." After chatting a bit with Hines about the workshop, Sue prepared to leave, but Hines suddenly thought of something. Right, Sue, the business union sent an invitation the day before yesterday. It seems like they want to invite you to a banquet. Business union's invitation. Sue was surprised before revealing a smile. Hines, it seems like our new flyer has already become a large company in Banta City. Hines laughed. That's right, if it wasn't a large company recognized by those fellows, they definitely wouldn't invite you as the chairman to their banquet. How about it? Are you going? I'm going. Why wouldn't I go? Sue nodded with a faint smile. Becoming a large company recognized by the business union, that is a very meaningful thing. This kind of good thing, how could I miss it? Hines also narrowed his eyes with a smile as he kept nodding. Right, our new flyer has only been established for 3 months and it has already been recognized by the business union. Not to mention being the first in the Lampari kingdom, it might even be rarely seen in the signs. How envious would people be if this was known? After saying this, Hines took out the invitation he had put away. Sue took it and found that this invitation was indeed sent by the business union of Banta City. Moreover, the name of the business union's chairman was written on it. Based on this, it seemed like the business union attached quite a bit of importance to the new flyer. After waving his hand to let Hines continue working, Sue looked over the invitation in his hand. The happy expression he had gradually disappeared, and it was replaced with slightly knit brows. Those fellows really have a sharp sense of smell. They're already following us. Chapter 76. The end of October was already a bit cold, so the people on the streets of Banta City began to put on their coats and trousers, tightly wrapping themselves up. Compared to the streets, the temperature in the rooms was naturally higher, but even like this, it wasn't the time to keep wearing short skirts. Steele, Evita, and Akali had already changed into loose long dresses, completely covering up their good figures. Sue looked over the 3 of them, and a trace of disappointment appeared in his heart. However, this inexplicable emotion was instantly suppressed. His attention was once again focused on the glass ball on the table. The signs didn't have low craftsmanship. For example, the glass craftsmanship was very good. The glass ball in front of him was completely transparent and didn't have a single impurity. Moreover, it was as thick as a piece and its surface was incomparably smooth. Even if it was brought to earth, it would be considered an outstanding piece of glass. This is the magic crystal lamp? Sue looked at the ball for a while before asking Steele, "This thing costs 200 gold coins?" Steele nodded. I had to ask grandfather for help to get this, otherwise I wouldn't be able to buy it even if I had the money. Sue was instantly speechless. This thing was just a light bulb, but it actually cost 200 gold coins. He couldn't even buy it even if he wanted to. He really couldn't understand it. When Sue lit the candles at home that night, he had an idea. He suddenly thought that since it was troublesome to light candles, why didn't he research light bulbs? Actually, he already had this idea when he transmigrated, but he gradually forgot about it. Thinking about it now, Sue couldn't suppress the excitement in his heart and immediately decided to research it. But when he proposed this idea to Steele's group, he was hit in the head. These signs, there were actually magic lamps that had already appeared. But when Sue asked the 3 of them why they didn't popularize the magic lamps since there were already magic lamps and he hadn't even seen a single magic lamp yet, he received an answer that surprised him even more. Magic lamps were too expensive. It was said that the magic array inside the magic lamp was extremely complicated. Ordinary magicians would not be able to complete it. Apart from being able to emit light, this magic array had no power at all. Therefore, after it was invented, not many magicians bothered to study it. As a result, the magic lamp became something with very little practical value. Apart from those who had too much money and wanted to show off, Ordinary people would not even think of buying a magic lamp. In the long run, the magic lamp gradually became a very rare item. Naturally, it became more and more expensive and also more and more exquisite. It was completely different from the cheap light bulbs that Sue-yi thought could be found everywhere on Earth. Although Sue-yi didn't understand why the sorcerers in signs didn't pay much attention to the application of magic, it didn't mean that he looked down on magic lamp. Instead, he asked Steele to find a way to buy one for him to study. When he was studying the small magic plowing machine last time, Sue-yi received a revelation. Although the industrial level of signs couldn't compare to Earth's, because of the uniqueness of magic, it had some advantages compared to Earth's in certain aspects. If he could get some inspiration from the magic crystal and help him greatly reduce the cost of production, he didn't mind changing his idea of using the structure of the fluorescent lamps on Earth. Have you studied it yet? Sue-yi pointed at the magic crystal lamp and asked. The three of them looked at each other. Steele pointed at the magic crystal lamp with a bit of difficulty and said, "This magic crystal lamp is a whole, it can't be taken apart at all. If you want to study the magic array inside, you have to break the crystal cover on the outside." Then break it, what about it? Sue-yi was a bit confused as he said this. Break it? We spent 200 gold coins to buy this. Akali's mouth opened wide in an exaggerated manner. She pointed at the magic crystal lamp with a look of disbelief. I bought it for you to study, what use is there in just leaving it here? Sue-yi looked around before picking up a stone from the table and smashing it at the magic crystal lamp. Seeing that Sue-yi was really about to smash it, Akali and Evita both revealed looks of being unable to bear it. This magic crystal lamp was very finely made and looked very beautiful, making the two of them like it very much. Now that Sue-yi was about to smash this beautiful thing in front of them, they simply couldn't look at it. Wait! Steele suddenly reached out to grab Sue-yi's falling hand. What? Steele, it can't be that you can't bear to part with 200 gold coins, right? You've been with me for so long, you should know very well that as long as there is a suitable result, the value of the research will far exceed 200 gold coins. Sue-yi said with a frown as he looked at Steele. Of course I know that. Steele took the stone from Sue-yi's hand. Of course it's necessary to smash it open, but you can't just smash it like you just did, right? What if you break the entire magic crystal lamp? If you break the magic array inside, what do you want us to study? Do you want us to buy another one? Sue-yi paused. I forgot about that. Akali and Evita saw Steele stop Sue-yi and were happy that they could keep this beautiful little thing, but when they heard Steele's words, they looked at each other in blank dismay. It was a pity that this magic crystal lamp was bought by Sue-yi, so they had no right to say what to do with it. They could only watch as Sue-yi and Steele inspected the magic crystal lamp for a while before gently smashing it down at an angle. Voila! The glass cover of the magic crystal lamp was smashed open and shattered on the ground, finally revealing its true appearance. The moment the glass cover was smashed open, Sue-yi brought his nose over to take a deep sniff, but other than the dust in his nose, he didn't smell anything strange at all. After giving a strong sneeze, Sue-yi was certain that the glass cover of the magic crystal lamp was only used for decoration and scattering light. It wasn't like the glass covers of light bulbs on Earth, which were used to store the inert gas inside. Of course, this world didn't have the technology to put inert gas into glass covers. When Steele carefully peeled off the glass cover of the magic crystal lamp, the four of them looked at the base of the magic crystal lamp. As expected, there was an incomparably complicated magic array on the base. Just based on the lines of the magic array, one could tell that it was much more complicated than the low-level magic arrays that Sue-yi's group used to design magic machines. Akali looked at it for a while before hesitantly saying, Sir Chairman, this magic array is this complicated, I'm afraid we can't study it with our current abilities, right? Steele also nodded. I think there's a problem with it. How about you take it to grandfather? He should be able to understand it. Sui also looked at the magic array for a while, and found that Akali and Steel were right. This magic array was indeed too complicated. It already surpassed his current level of magic. When he was about to nod in agreement to Steel's idea, he suddenly remembered that Evita hadn't said anything yet, so he turned to look at her. Evita, what do you think? Can you understand it? Evita thought for a bit before saying in an uncertain voice, although I can't understand it, I feel that I've seen this magic array before. You have an impression? Could it be that you've seen this magic array before? Sui quickly asked. No, I shouldn't have learned such a complicated magic array before. Only, I feel that the style of this magic array is very similar to a magic array I've seen before, perhaps it's a bit related. Evita replied. Then do you remember the magic array you've seen before? Evita thought for a bit before taking a pen and paper, and drawing a magic array on the paper. The other three looked at the magic array Evita drew, and then looked at the magic array on the base of the magic crystal lamp, before nodding at the same time. It really is similar. Although the magic array on the magic crystal lamp is much more complicated, it can be seen that they are very similar. Steel said. Sui looked at the magic array Evita drew and thought for a bit before asking Evita, Evita, do you know how to set up this magic array? Evita nodded slightly. Good, set up this magic array now, and we'll see what the effects are. Akali clapped her hands. That's a good idea, Evita, quickly set it up. Evita nodded and took out some magic materials, starting to set up the magic array on the floor of the living room. This magic array wasn't as complicated as the one on the base of the magic crystal lamp. Evita only took 10 minutes to finish setting it up. Sui indicated for the other three to back off and poured a bit of magic into the magic array. Then they saw a faint green light flash on the magic array, and then a bright white light burst out of the magic array, illuminating the entire living room. But this white light only flashed for a moment before disappearing. The four stared at the magic array in a daze. After waiting for a while, they didn't see any other changes and couldn't help being puzzled. That's it? Akali pointed at the magic array and said with wide eyes. Is there a mistake? It only released a light, what can that do? Still said in a thoughtful voice, this might be a magic array that advanced from wind magic to thunder magic. But this magic array is very strange, it can only release the lightning of lightning magic, but I can't feel the power of lightning magic. It seems like this is a failed magic array. Evita, where did you learn about this magic array? I accidentally saw it in a book. Evita's face was a bit disappointed. I thought it would be a bit useful, but I never thought it would be this bad. The only one who wasn't disappointed was Sui, rather he was very excited. Hearing the conversation of the three, Sui laughed. He stood up and patted Evita's shoulder as he said, No, Evita, it is because it is a failed magic array that it is very useful. If this magic array didn't fail and showed the power of lightning magic, how could we use it to make a fluorescent lamp? Alright, I'll now announce a research mission to the three of you, which is to properly study this magic array. The final goal is to make it so that it can release a stable light, understood? Steele's group of three looked at each other before nodding. Compared to the incomparably complicated magic array on the magic crystal lamp, the magic array drawn by Evita was much easier to understand. Of course, it's best if you study the magic array inside the magic crystal lamp. If there is anything you don't understand, you can ask Great Magician Camilla. He is currently our new Flyer's special research consultant, so you have to seize this chance to ask him about any problems you have with magic. There was no need to mention Steel. Akali and Evita both revealed looks of excitement when they heard Suyi's words. Being able to ask a great magician at any time was very important to increasing their magic power. After Sui said a few more words, he prepared to leave. Cambi had stayed in the Norma tribe to wait for the Angola tribe's dwarves, so Sui had to put in more effort into the production magic machine workshop. Adding in the other work, Sui was very busy every day, so he didn't even have time to stay for lunch. When he walked out the door, a collie suddenly chased after him and called out to Sui. "Sir Chairman, are you going to the business union's banquet in 2 days?" How do you know?" Sui was a bit surprised. "It was Steele who told me." A collie pointed at the door behind her and revealed an awkward look as she hesitantly said, "Sir Chairman, can I ask you for a favor?" This was Sui's first time seeing this lively girl act like this, so he couldn't help finding it a bit funny. "What is it? Tell me. If I can help, I definitely won't disappoint you." Seeing Sui agree so quickly, a collie's eyes lit up and she quickly asked, "I've heard Steele say that you don't have a female companion for the banquet?" Sui was stunned as he looked at a collie with a confused look. "I don't. What? Could it be that you want to be my female companion?" A collie chuckled. "Sir Chairman, you're really wise. That's right, I want to be your female companion for the banquet. Are you willing?" Sui was a bit confused. "Why do you suddenly want to go to this banquet? This kind of banquet is very boring." "Well, I just want to go and see it for myself. How about it? Sir Chairman, can you promise me?" A collie revealed a pleading expression. "There's no problem bringing you, but a collie, if you appear as my female companion on this occasion, aren't you worried that others will mistake you for my girlfriend?" Sui teased her. A collie stuck out her chest that wasn't that tall and giggled as she said, "As long as you agree, I'm very willing to be your girlfriend. But, forget it. If I really become your girlfriend, people will get angry. Sir Chairman, does that mean you're willing to take me to the banquet?" Sui nodded. "All right, since you want to go so much, I'll take you there." "That's great. Sir Chairman, you're such a good person." A collie cheered as she opened her arms and hugged Sui with all her might. Then, she suddenly let go and ran back into the room like a rabbit. Seeing her figure disappear, Sui couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. He really didn't know what these little girls were thinking. Chapter 77. "Sui, are you really going to that boring banquet?" Viscount Leslie knit his brows as he looked at Sui, looking a bit confused. "Could it be that you can't see that those fellows don't have good intentions? Although your new flyer is developing quite well, it's still quite a bit away from becoming a true large company. Those fellows are trying to win you over because they see the technology you have right now. Lord Viscount, you also have a 30% share in the new flyer, so it shouldn't be your new flyer, rather it should be our new flyer," Sui said with a faint smile. "All right, since it's our new flyer, I have more right to speak on this matter. I'll clearly tell you that I'm against you going to that banquet, and I'm even more against you being with those sly old fellows," Viscount Leslie said with a serious look. "Although I don't like boasting, I think you have to admit that in Banta City, I, Viscount Leslie, still have a bit of influence. As long as you don't seek death, I can guarantee that new flyer will steadily develop. So you don't need to care about those fellows and just focus on developing some good magic machines. Why do you need to cause trouble? Of course I believe that the Lord Viscount has this ability. But Lord Viscount, your understanding of business is a bit shallow," Sui said without any politeness. Viscount Leslie gave a snort. "Oh? Then tell me, what kind of understanding isn't shallow? I'm just a small fish, so am I seeking death by jumping into a group of sharks?" Sui said with a faint smile. "Perhaps you're right. Compared to the large companies of the business union, our new flyer is indeed a small fish. But Lord Viscount, no chamber of commerce can exist independently. Our new flyer's products are unique and there are no other companies, but you have to notice that our company has close relations with the other companies. For example, the most important material for making magic machines, iron. We can only buy it from the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce right now because the iron mines near Banta City are all controlled by them, so we can't do anything. Viscount Leslie nodded and said in a deep voice, I've heard that half a month ago, the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce raised the price of pig iron by 10%, right? That's right. Recently, our Chamber of Commerce has received a large number of orders, so we naturally need a large amount of pig iron. It is normal for the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce to take this opportunity to raise the price. Sue nodded with a smile. You can still laugh? Viscount Leslie looked at Sue-Yi's smiling face and didn't know why he felt very angry. This time, the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce raised it by 10%. What if they raise it by another 10% next time? Are you going to pinch your nose and admit defeat? What else can I do if I don't admit it? Lord Viscount, I think you know better than me who the master behind the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce is, right? Sue said calmly. Viscount Leslie was a bit surprised before collapsing like he was discouraged, waving his hand in an annoyed manner. Of course he was more clear than Sue. The Fulcao Chamber of Commerce didn't seem special on the surface, but this company that controlled 40% of the iron ore business in the Lampari Kingdom had a large backing in the form of the Joel family. The Joel family was one of the top families in the Lampari Kingdom. Not to mention a small new flyer, even if the family behind Viscount Leslie wanted to fight with them, they would have to consider it carefully. Then what do we do? Iron is the most basic material for making magic machines, it's impossible not to use it. If the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce keeps raising the price, how do you plan on dealing with it? Viscount Leslie couldn't help asking. Sue didn't have a half-dead, anxious look on his face. Rather, he took a sip from his cup before slowly saying, Lord Viscount, you don't need to worry about this. The increase in the price of pig iron is something that I expected. I would find it strange if it didn't increase. But there is a limit to the increase in price. There are many places that need pig iron, and there are many companies that need to buy pig iron. It isn't just our new flyer. If the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce raises the price too high, there is no need for our new flyer to make a move. Naturally, there will be other large companies that will take the lead for us. No matter how excessive the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce is, they wouldn't go so far as to sell pig iron to other companies at a different price to our new flyer, right? They definitely wouldn't dare. But Sue, don't you feel that this is too passive? Of course I feel that, so I agreed to go to the banquet. Sue revealed a smile and naturally changed the topic. There are some things that if you don't join in, you don't have the right to speak at all. Of course you can only be passive. But aren't you afraid of being swallowed by them after joining in? Viscount Leslie said with a frown. Sue revealed a faint smile. Lord Viscount, if I'm swallowed this easily, that would be good news for you. I can tell you ahead of time that I'm not worth investing in, right? Viscount Leslie gave a cold snort and nodded at Butler Brunei, who had been silently standing on the side the entire time. Butler Brunei turned around to take out a document. This is the transfer contract for the slaves, take a look. Viscount Leslie took the document and placed it in front of Sue. Sue looked at Viscount Leslie with a bit of surprise. Lord Viscount, I never thought that you would actually agree. When it was time for the factory to give out wages a few days ago, Sue found it a bit hard to give wages to the slaves in the household magic machine workshop. Because these slaves were owned by Viscount Leslie, it was very hard for Sue to give them wages each time. He couldn't directly give them gold coins, and it was a bit troublesome to give them benefits, so he had to ask Viscount Leslie's permission first. After that, Sue tried to suggest to Viscount Leslie that he should just sell all these slaves to him, which would save him some trouble. Viscount Leslie didn't agree at that time, so Sue thought that there was no chance, but he never thought that he would throw out a transfer contract now. You said it just now, I am investing in you. These 100 slaves are a part of my investment. I hope that you can live up to my investment. Viscount Leslie said with an expressionless face. Sui quickly looked over the contract and didn't find any problems, so he immediately signed his name. Now, as long as this contract was verified by the kingdom's law enforcement department, it would immediately take effect. These 100 slaves would completely belong to Sui from now on. Viscount Leslie took the contract from Sui's hand, but he didn't immediately sign it. Rather, he looked at Sui and reached out his right index finger. I can give these 100 slaves to you, but there is a condition that I didn't write on the contract, but rather it is an agreement between us. Listen well. Sui wasn't surprised as he gave a slight nod. In a month, there will be 300 slaves entering the factory. You have to let these 300 slaves learn how to make all the magic machines the new flyer is currently making. This includes the magic fan, the magic rice cooker, and the magic air conditioner that you mentioned, as well as the small magic harvester, the small magic plowing machine, and other large magic machines. Do you understand what I mean? Sui narrowed his eyes as he looked at Viscount Leslie. After a while, he slowly asked, Lord Viscount, can I ask where these 300 slaves come from? Viscount Leslie had a cold look. It's best if you don't ask these unnecessary questions, there are no benefits for you. I'm only asking you, do you agree to this condition? Sui spread his hands and said with a bitter smile, Can I not agree? Even if I don't give face to the Lord Viscount as a major shareholder, just based on the fact that you're giving me 100 slaves, I have to agree to this condition. No problem, I will tell Hines and Canby to properly teach these 300 slaves, they can't hide anything. Of course, Lord Viscount, I can't guarantee that these 300 slaves will all be able to grasp them since everyone is different in the end. Viscount Leslie nodded. I understand this, you just need to properly teach them. Alright, then I have another question. How long will they stay here? If it's too short, I estimate that they won't be able to grasp anything. If it's too long, it's best if you give me an accurate time so I can prepare ahead of time. Otherwise, once they leave, it will seriously affect the progress of our factory. It'll be half a year for now. If there are any changes in half a year, I'll inform you ahead of time. Viscount Leslie said. Alright, I understand. Seeing Viscount Leslie sign the contract, Sui revealed a smile that came from the bottom of his heart. Hearing that Viscount Leslie wanted to place 300 slaves, Sui was a bit surprised at first, but after hearing his request, he wanted to laugh. Viscount Leslie wanted Sui to teach these 300 slaves how to make light and heavy magic machines, but he had forgotten the most important technology that needed to be grasped, which was the production magic machines. It had to be known that although the new flyer had many production lines, producing close to 10 kinds of magic machines at the same time, its foundation was the simple production magic machines that made various parts. If they could truly grasp the production magic machines, they could truly grasp the core technology of the new flyer. Sui could guess that these 300 slaves were sent by the family behind Viscount Leslie. Their goal was to use these 300 slaves as a foundation to create another new flyer, creating benefits for Viscount Leslie's family. With the power of the family behind Viscount Leslie, as long as they grasped the technology and invested in it, their scale could instantly surpass the new flyer. But Sui still couldn't understand why Viscount Leslie didn't ask him to teach the 300 slaves how to make the production magic machines. Viscount Leslie wasn't a stupid person and he had a good understanding of the new flyer, so it was impossible for him to not see the important use of the production magic machines. Could it be that he did it on purpose? Sui guessed in his heart. But why is that? Chapter 78. The autumn wind was a bit bleak and Banta City was a bit colder at night compared to during the day. There weren't as many people on the streets as there were a month ago, making the entire city seem a bit desolate. However, in front of a manor to the north of Banta City, There were over 30 horse carriages parked there. Although these horse carriages were of different sizes and shapes, they all had a common point, which was that they were all incomparably luxurious. Not only was each horse carriage decorated with expensive decorations, even the horses that pulled the carriages were divine horses. It could be seen that they weren't normal horses. Just looking at these horse carriages, one could tell that their owners were very rich. Any random person could be an important person in Banta City. There were sounds of laughter that came from the manor, as well as the faint sounds of singing and dancing. It seemed like there was a banquet being held inside. A banquet that could gather all these important people in Banta City. It was rare to see such a thing in Banta City. A pitch-black carriage suddenly turned the corner and drove over. This horse carriage looked very normal, and other than a broken lantern hanging outside, there weren't any other decorations. The horse pulling the carriage was of a mixed color and didn't look divine at all. Based on this horse carriage, it was clear that the person sitting inside wasn't an important person. So before it even reached the gate of the manor, it was already stopped by the guards at the gate. When the guard was prepared to scold it and chase this untactful horse carriage away, the curtain of the horse carriage was suddenly opened and a young man jumped out. Although this man's clothes weren't luxurious and he didn't wear any expensive decorations, his aura was firm and his actions were filled with confidence. One could tell with a single glance that he wasn't a normal citizen. After the guard was stunned, he swallowed the scolding that was about to come out of his mouth. The young man looked at the guard before reaching his hand out into the carriage. A white and delicate hand came out of the carriage. With the support of the young man, a girl who wasn't that tall, had a round face, was cute, and had a lively aura also came out of the carriage. Seeing this girl, the guard was stunned before suddenly reacting. He said in a surprised voice, "You are young Miss Akali." Akali had just jumped out of the carriage when she heard someone call her name. She looked up in a daze and saw the pleasantly surprised guard, revealing a sweet smile to him. "You recognize me?" Of course, of course." The guard nodded his head excitedly. The guard excitedly said, "Young Miss Akali, the billboard you made for the new flyer has always been outside the city gates. I've seen it countless times. I never thought that I would see you in person, really. Really." The young man on the side was naturally Sui. Seeing this guard chasing Akali, he couldn't help smiling. "Akali, you're famous now, you even have fans." "What are fans?" "Akali, Akali, Akali." Fans are people who pay attention to and like you. This guard is so excited and happy to see you, so he must be your fan." "It sounds very impressive." Akali rolled her eyes and revealed an even sweeter smile to the guard. "Guard, we are here to attend the banquet. Can you let us pass?" The guard was stunned for a moment before reacting. He looked at Sui and suddenly understood. This must be the new flyer's Sui, Chairman Su, right? "Please come in, please come in." Sui and Akali were led through the gate by the guard. As soon as they walked through the gate, they felt countless gazes sweep over them. Compared to these people who were all incomparably beautiful, wearing expensive clothes and luxurious accessories, looking very rich, Sui and Akali's clothes were just too normal. Although Sui had tidied himself up before going out today, he was still wearing a set of ordinary clothes. Other than being neat and tidy, there was nothing expensive about it. Compared to Sui, Akali had obviously dressed up meticulously. However, she was only the daughter of an ordinary family. Naturally, she couldn't wear expensive and gorgeous accessories on her body. Her clothes were just an ordinary long dress with a simple light purple shawl on the outside. Of course, it was clear that Akali had carefully designed some small places. For example, her hair was slightly loose and then tied into a bun at the back of her neck, just enough to reveal her white neck. In addition, there was a small accessory in her hair. Together with her round face, she looked lively and playful. Although her luxurious aura was definitely not as luxurious as the ladies present, It injected a different style into this banquet. It was even more eye-catching. The banquet was silent for a few seconds. Suddenly, a burst of laughter rang out. A middle-aged man with a thin face and an equally thin body came out to greet them. "This must be the new Flyers Sue-E, Chairman Sue, right?" The middle-aged man strode over to Sue-E. He grabbed his hand and laughed loudly. "I've long heard of Chairman Sue's name, but today is the first time I've seen you. Chairman Sue is really young and promising. I can't help but sigh at how the younger generation will surpass us in time." Sue-E frowned slightly. Why did this middle-aged man keep emphasizing that he was young? Of course, Sue-E didn't reveal anything on the surface. He just revealed a trace of doubt as he asked, "May I ask who you are?" Without waiting for the middle-aged man to reply, another fat middle-aged man came out. He explained to Sue-E with a smile, "Chairman Sue, this is the Serene Chamber of Commerce's Chairman Manhattan Rank, who is also the chairman of our Banta City's business union." Sue-E recognized this middle-aged man. He was called Mun Cruz, the chairman of the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce. The Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce was mainly in the construction industry. Sue-E was preparing to expand the factory during this time, so he had some contact with him, so he could be considered familiar with him. Hearing his introduction, Sue-E revealed a surprised look. He tightened his grip on Chairman Rank's hand and shook it as he said, "So it's the Honorable Chairman Rank. I've long heard of your name, but I never thought that I would be able to see you in person today. It really makes me very excited." Chairman Rank gave another laugh. "Chairman Sue's praise is too much. Right now in Banta City, which company is more famous than your new flyer? Chairman Sue's name, even the normal farmers in the villages outside the city are familiar with it, right?" Hearing this, the banquet that had just become lively suddenly became silent again. Everyone's eyes fell onto Sue-E again, but the curiosity in their eyes now had a bit of envy and jealousy. The farmer support plan that the new flyer released last month had been very popular. There were a total of 23 farmers who received support from this plan. These 23 people used the half-rented and half-borrowed agricultural magic machines from the Frestec Chamber of Commerce, earning a lot of attention during the fall harvest and fall planting stages. Relying on the agricultural magic machines in their hands, the fall harvest and planting season outside Banta City was much more efficient compared to last year. Moreover, there were many farmers who opened up more farmland and planted more seed. If everything went smoothly, Banta City's grain harvest next year would greatly increase. Therefore, the city lord Count Sean Samo had specially announced in the Banta Times that the city lord manor appreciated Sue-E and the new flyer. He also expressed that he would fully support the farmer support plan that the new flyer proposed, working hard to increase Banta City's grain yield. There were many companies in Banta City, but among all these companies, this was the first time that a company had been praised by the city lord, so naturally it created a stir. Thinking of the Banta Times, that was very popular in Banta City, the Banta Times, that everyone read every day, it seemed like it was related to the Frestec Chamber of Commerce. The gazes of the merchants looking at Sue-E became even more strange and complicated. Where the hell did this kid come from? In just a short 3 months, he had established the new flyer from nothing, and now it was a large company that had a place in Banta City. Sue-E naturally didn't care about the gazes of the people around him. Rather, he seriously looked over Chairman Rank. According to tradition, each city's business union would nominate a representative as the chairman. To be able to become the business union's chairman, of course they were people with high prestige in Banta City's companies. This Chairman Manhattan Rank had already been the Banta City Business Union's chairman for 3 terms, which was a total of 6 years. Naturally, he had outstanding prestige and ability. It was not something a small new Flyers chairman like him could compare to. An important person like him had personally written an invitation, and now he was this friendly. Naturally, there was a reason for this. Sue said with a laugh, "Chairman Rank is the one overpraising me. Our new flyer can only do small business with normal farmers. How could we compare to your Serene Chamber of Commerce? Look at everyone here. Who doesn't have at least one product from the Serene Chamber of Commerce?" The Serene Chamber of Commerce's main business was luxury goods, so their customers were either nobles or rich merchants. Not mentioning the high profit margin, because they had good relationships with nobles and large merchants, the Serene Chamber of Commerce was very famous whether it was in Banta City or the surrounding cities. Chairman Rank shook his head and pointed at Sue as he said, "Chairman Sue, you don't have a single thing from our Serene Chamber of Commerce on you." After saying this, he looked at Akali on the side and revealed an understanding smile. He turned to wave his hand behind him. A normal-looking young man came over with a wooden box and opened it in front of Sue, instantly releasing a ray of light. Akali looked at it and couldn't help calling out. There was a pearl necklace in the box, and each pearl was the size of a thumb. Moreover, each pearl was round and full, being the same size. This kind of pearl necklace was naturally a rare treasure, so the lowest price would be over 500 gold coins. Chairman Rank said with a smile, "Today is Chairman Sue's first time attending our business union's banquet. As the union's chairman, I should prepare some gifts. Chairman Sue, perhaps you aren't interested in our Serene Chamber of Commerce's things, but I think that this beautiful young miss will definitely like it." There was no need to ask. Just by looking at Akali's sparkling eyes, Sue knew that she really did like this necklace. After thinking for a bit, Sue took the necklace from the box with a faint smile and said to the stunned Akali, "Come, I'll help you put it on." Akali was stunned before reacting and quickly waving her hand in a panic. No, this gift is too precious, Without waiting for her to finish, Sue had already opened the necklace and with a twist of his hands, he put the necklace around Akali's neck. Suddenly being held by Sue's hands and sensing the aura coming from Sue's arms, Akali's body froze. When she reacted, Sue had already helped her put on the necklace. It's very beautiful, it suits you very well." Sue looked at the red-faced Akali and praised her before turning to Chairman Rank. "Many thanks for Chairman Rank's gift." Seeing Sue's actions, Chairman Rank seemed very satisfied as he waved his hand and said, "It's not a big matter, Chairman Sue is too polite. Come, Chairman Sue, it's your first time here, how about we find a place to have a good chat? I'm very curious about Chairman Sue." Sue revealed a faint smile. "I've also admired Chairman Rank for a long time, please. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.